Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
I love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
It's a blessing to be in the position, and we're just thankful to be here. We're thankful for the opportunity to go out there and play in front of the 12 man.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Buchanan,
Nuño,
got a question for you.
ask.
What is the biggest for sure on this Aggie football team? And then we'll follow up with your biggest question. We've talked questions already, so we know where it'll end up in one of these. But I want to kind of first look at the for sures. What are the for sures?
Le'Veon Moss. Well, I say that.
Is he a for sure?
He's got to be. If a healthy Le'Veon Moss is for sure a productive running back, one of the best running backs in the country, I believe. So if you're telling me right that beyond that, I'm going to say that the A&M running back situation that they have
elite?
as much is elite. They have as much talent at running back, starting with Le'Veon and then Ruben and then Amari and then the two freshmen that look so good in the spring. The running back situation is as good as any in the entire nation.
So that would be your biggest for sure.
For sure is a healthy Le'Veon Moss is one of the best running backs, maybe the best. But in the
What's
country.
your next for sure? If you had like I feel really, really good about
Well, I feel
this.
really, really good about the offensive line for the reasons we've spoke about so many times. You got 4 returning starters, full-time starters, plus Mark Naboo back, who was a starter before he got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have good depth there. And, again, last year you were second in the SEC with that offensive line in rushing, and you were 4th in the SEC in sacks allowed. So not only are they experienced, they're going to be in their second year under their offensive line coach, and their second year playing together, so you got that cohesiveness, but they're proven. So I think the for sure then would be the offensive line. I think it's going to be one of the best in the SEC.
But I ask you, Olin,
Yes.
why offensive line? Because I'm just going to throw this out there. You've got to respond to this, right? This is a back and forth. 4th and 1.
4th and 1. Again, that's where you got to go from being good at something to being, to being a good offensive line to being a great offensive line. You can't be a great offensive line if you can't just line up and say, we're going to knock you off the ball. Now, that said, at least one of the stops against Texas was on the tight end, not tackle to tackle. One, I can remember the center being pushed back. I'm assuming Naboo's going to be bigger. Plus, they have gotten physically bigger and stronger in the offensive line. I think they looked at that situation and said, okay, I'm talking about our strength and conditioning
Tommy
coach.
Moffitt.
We've got to get better there, and they are bigger.
Working on getting him on the show, by the way.
They are physically bigger.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming stronger. So those things, and quite frankly, you got to get a little bit more creative too.
Yeah. Do you have a for sure on the defense?
Well, I feel really good about one corner.
Okay.
Will Lee. I think he's a for sure guy. I think you can rely on him. I'm not saying that. I'm not going to say Will Lee is going to shut down one side of the field and everybody's just going to throw to the other side because you don't want to deal with Will Lee. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying you're going to get good quality cornerback play from Will Lee for sure.
Okay. So,
and this is all understanding that everybody's healthy.
Sure. And I would say maybe the second closest to for sure, but I'm not ready to go for sure, Cassius Howell.
I'm hearing great things about Cassius Howell. And I'm the first person to say pump the brakes on Cassius Howe. Yeah, he did real well. He was one of the few on defense that played well in November.
Yep.
So he was outstanding in the bowl game, as I recall. Played well against Texas. But I thought he was a liability on run defense against South Carolina.
Yep.
So he's another one of those guys that's gotten bigger, and I understand, look, you've got to be this, and all the things I've been hearing from people inside that program, and I don't hear a lot because I don't have Billy Lucci access, right? Nobody does. Who does? But I've been getting really good reports about Cassius Howe. So I'm going to keep an open mind about Cassius Howe.
All right. So I want us now to make a pot of gumbo, okay?
Yeah.
We're going to throw in the for sure's and the questions, okay? And we're going to see which one do we feel better about. So the questions, and again, not all of these are made equal, right? Because we may have questions about Marcel Reed, but they're not huge questions. I mean, they're questions, but they're not doubts, right? Some of these are doubts. Some of these are questions. Questions on the questions on A&M would be: can Marcel Reed take the
next step?
Can the defensive line create pressure? Can they cover? Okay. So let's throw them all on there, okay, in a pot, and then actually let's measure our macronutrients, shall we? Let's measure which one weighs more, the for sure's or the questions.
Oh, the questions, without a doubt. Because you didn't even mention, run defense, which was really, let's be nice, say inconsistent. So you didn't even bring that, and we feel really good. I feel really good about the receiver position because of the additions of Craver and Concepcion.
Is receiver a question?
Yes, until they actually do it here.
Is receiver a for sure better group this year than last year?
I think when I look at it on paper, yeah, they're a better group of receivers on paper. Now, let's transfer it to the field. But on paper, yeah, I think
talent-wise, higher
speed-wise, production-wise.
And I'm a believer. It's not always the case. People get better in their second year in the saddle.
Typically.
Not always. We know there's a sophomore slump, right?
And you can say that not just in football, in everything. I'm talking to you. In your job.
The guy with the glasses?
Yeah, that guy. You're in your job. Were you better at your second year on your job or their first year, right?
Well, and then I'll follow that up with if you care.
If you care.
Right? If you put in the work, I'm a big believer. You put in the work, you will get better. Even if it's not great work, a little bit of work, consistent work, a little bit of consistent work will go a long way. And if you care, if this is your love, if this is your life, you will be better.
You understand what the job requires.
Marcel will be better.
I'm very confident. I can't say I'm without a doubt, but I'm extremely confident that the Marcel Reed of 2025 will be significantly better than 2024 just because he has the experience. He's been the starting quarterback, all offseason. He knows it's his job, and he's going to do what it requires to get better.
Yep. But then the question is, well, we have history, David, and we can talk about Connor Wigman was supposed to be better.
Yeah, he was.
And Haynes King was supposed to be better. And Max Johnson was supposed to be better. Now, none of those were, Connor did start 2 years in a row, but missed significant time in between.
The only one of those guys that you mentioned that we actually saw with our eyes playing for A&M that we expect to get better was Connor Wigman. Because we had seen...
Until year 3.
I'm going to tell you something. I saw Max Johnson play at LSU, and I always thought, he's all right, except when he played A&M, right? What do we always talk about? A&M's the team that you get healthy on.
Yeah.
He had that one pass against A&M, saved that. Well, he had more than one. He had that one drive against A&M.
But that one drive was...
But he had that drive.
Yeah.
And he saved them, right, in that game. Other than that, I always thought Max Johnson was all right. He was all right. And we never saw Haynes.
No. I've seen a lot of him at Georgia Tech. Kind of impressed with him there.
He's all right.
Yeah, he's been good.
I mean, he's not what he was hyped up to be even here.
But if he would have been that here.
If he was that guy at Georgia Tech here, it would have been a lot better.
He would have been here for many years. So, but here's the biggest difference in all this. We always talk about losing your starting quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Because that's been the story. But how often have they finished the season with a consistent quarterback? This is the first time in forever. because Zach Calzada became the starter because of injury. He was gone, and he wasn't going to be the starter. Connor gets hurt. Jalen Henderson gets hurt. Max Johnson, everybody gets hurt at the end of the year too. It's not just the beginning. Marcel finished the season.
He did. I think, quite frankly, as high as I was on Connor, but again, he had missed the last 8 games or 8.5 games, 9.5 games. I think they're in, as far as quarterback experience and everything, they're in their best situation since Kellen's last year.
Yeah. But again, I think because every year that I've been here, we've pointed at things like in retrospect, of course the offensive line wasn't very good in 21. Everybody left in 20. Of course. And it takes time. Oh, but hey, we got these 2 freshmen. Yeah, but they're freshmen, right? If your freshmen are your best offensive linemen, that's typically not good.
In a perfect situation, if a freshman plays in the offensive line, he's going to be a high draft pick eventually. He's just so incredibly talented, like Kenyon Green was, that you just can't keep him out of the lineup just because he's that talented. And maybe that'll be the case with Chase Pasantes. But Chase was playing out of position as a freshman.
Yeah. So, and I'll tell you where I don't have a question, but I also don't have a lot of what's the word? I don't want to say I feel fine about linebacker. That's what I'm going to say. I feel fine.
Okay, and I've got questions.
There's questions, but they weren't a hindrance. Maybe at times in the running game.
I thought the linebacker play last year was average at best.
Yeah. Wow.
And when they weren't at their best, they were, below average. And look,
Scooby was good.
I said the second best individual game on defense played all year was Scooby Williams against Mississippi State. He was freaking amazing in that game. When he was healthy and in the lineup, they were better at linebacker. But you can't ignore the big runs, that were somewhat consistent.
100%.
And they're not always on the linebackers, but a lot of them were.
By the way, did you know that this is TexAgs Live?
I did know that.
Yeah. And did you know we're presented by David
Carter-Jules? Yeah, heck yeah, I know that.
And currently we're in this awesome little studio it's not that little. This is
palatial big studio. Yeah, it's almost as big as Rollo Insurance's office on the
and that's a pretty big place
on Highway 6.
This is the Rollo Insurance studio. Yeah. This hour, it's weird how there's 1 hour of the day that we've named, but this is the hour that we've named the
Go Hour,
presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. And we're such a NASCAR company that we've even named the platform that we're sitting on, the section of the studio.
Yeah, this is like the pits. This is the Holistic Planning Cool Zone.
And they do a lot of great things.
They do a lot of great things. They're going to help you with investments, get your portfolio productive and making you money. And then they're going to help you with taxes so you can keep more of that money, Uncle Sam's always wanting to get in your pocket.
That's Sam.
They're going to slap that hand away a little bit. And then, of course, estate planning. So when you're an old guy like me and you're looking at retirement, you're going to have a lot of that money waiting on you so you can, live the life that you want to live in retirement.
InvestInProSports.com if you want to invest in pro sports. If you want to be part of the conversation, call us, please. What are your big questions?
What sports team would you invest in?
Well, I like to buy low.
Yeah.
And sell high.
Yeah. So that's the best way.
But not somebody who's always low. Somebody who has an ability to get back high.
Okay.
The Dallas Mavericks?
No.
Because by nature they're going to be better with my ownership.
Yeah, I think
just because of time.
Yeah. I guarantee I'd rather you be owning the Mavericks or at least be general manager than the buffoon.
You know how I don't want to own the Mavericks is Chris Canty, but we'll move on from that. If you want to call us, please do. We love when you call us. 979-693-1150. That's the Bubby's Catering hotline. You can text that number, your comments as well. What's your biggest question mark? And what's your biggest for sure on Texas A&M football in the 2025 season? 979-693-1150. We go around the room. We go left to right through the class. This is Nick Savage. Nick, good morning.
Howdy, good morning, y'all. Could I interest you in the Utah Mammoth?
Pardon what? Is that a minor league baseball team?
No, that's a Major 4
Is that what they're calling their hockey team now?
Yeah, in Utah.
Because for a long time it was just the Utah Hockey Club, right?
Yeah.
Utah's getting an NHL team?
They have an NHL team.
The Mammoth?
I just watched the Stars, and that's it.
They came out with their name yesterday. I'm not a hockey fan.
I wonder why Mammoth. Do they have find some bones of a woolly mammoth in Salt Lake City? Or Provo?
I thought Houston would get a team before them. Huh.
Who would?
Houston. H-Town representative.
Yeah. I don't know.
Here's the joke.
No, I don't have a joke. I mean, remember the Arrows with Gordie Howe and his sons back in the 70s?
I do remember
Gordie Howe. They were dominating the World Hockey League.
And then later the IHL as well, the International Hockey League. Big time feeder for the NHL.
I would say that it is surprising that they don't have a team in Houston.
Well, Houston doesn't support teams unless they win. But I think that's big cities with warm climate anyway.
How most places are, except for maybe in football towns, in certain baseball towns.
Football's a different conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. Football's fine.
Well, okay.
Anyway.
Dallas Stars are doing well.
I like
won
last
night.
I've told you this before. I went to the Stanley Cup in 98 for Chip Howard for a game, and also in 99. And I met David Robinson, the Admiral, who was watching the game at the old Reunion Arena.
I was sitting in DFW Airport one time, and David Robinson came walking by, and I had this an absolute stupid thought. That I went, hey, look, is that David Robinson? Of course he is. Yeah, he's 7 feet tall. How many 7 feet tall guys you going to see walking out? That look like David Robinson, except David Robinson.
I don't think he was really an admiral.
No.
Yeah, they just called him that.
Because he went to the Naval Academy.
Start calling you the general.
Yeah, because
generally you're wrong.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
No, I'm
just kidding.
I have no problem with that.
Let's go. I'm always wrong. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Reed Neal is there. And Reed, today's your last day.
It is.
Why are you quitting, man?
I just don't like you anymore, David.
Okay.
No.
That's kind of
unexpected. Yeah. Generally, that's a great answer.
It worked. Whatever we did worked, OB. Just kidding, Reed. We're going to miss you. What's going on in your world?
So I've got some comments for you all.
Okay, I've got some responses.
Caleb Aggs, first of all, he says...
Caleb with a K.
Yep. He says...
On the TexAgs Super Chat, by the way.
Yes, yeah. He says, good morning, OB, David, and the TexAgs crew.
Good morning.
And then he says, biggest thing for sure is that we need to win all of our home games and to have a successful season, and defense needs to improve in the secondary.
Yep. So all those things I agree with 100%.
Put up the schedule. You win all your home games, and you win...
You got to beat Auburn.
You win 2 road games.
Well, that would be, put you on a track for a 9-win season. I'm going to say this: I'm going into the season like I always do, not conceding anything. I'm looking for 12-0. I'm thinking 10 wins should always be the expectation. Realistically, obviously, that's
the
not
desired result.
That's what it should be at a place like Texas A&M with all the advantages you have that you failed to that you've consistently failed to capitalize on.
Is it the expectation, or is it and semantics here, or the desired result with our? Because my expectation, unfortunately, has become to be not expecting a lot.
Well, again, I use the word should be. 10 wins should be the expectations here because of all the infrastructure, because of the resources, because of geography, because even with all the money that's being out there and kids are more willing to move to where the money is, the bottom line is if you're an hour and a half from Houston and all those football players, and 2 or 2.5 hours from Dallas and all those football players, and East Texas and all those players in the San Antonio, and you're that close, you should have an advantage.
Yep.
And that's why, back in the day when Texas was struggling and we were enjoying it, but I remember talking to Gabe Box. Look, they're not going to stop playing because there's too many good football players in our state alone
100%.
That you should always be good. That's why A&M should always expect.
Reed Neal, read one more.
So Caleb Aggs then again asked, my biggest question is how improved is Marcel and the wide receiver connection? Will tight end open up and receiving? Will tight end open up the receiving and running game to make this Colin Klein offense pop?
I've said this before, OB, and it's not a popular take, okay? I think for this team to be great, yes, Marcel needs to take a huge step up. I still don't believe he's the reason this team struggled last year. Did he have his moments? Like, he was not good in the Texas game. I get it. And he had some inopportune interceptions. To me, the reason this team did not reach double-digit wins was because of the defense.
Yes.
Not because of the offense.
As you pointed out, and I didn't realize it until you pointed it out, A&M in conference games and SEC games led the SEC in scoring.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't score a lot against Texas. Okay, that's true. But, you know, they I can't even remember what the score was, but they scored a boatload of points in the loss to Auburn, right? Scored a lot of points against LSU, scored a lot against Missouri.
Now, one thing I will say about the Marcel era, there was too much play catch-up, right? It was a slow start getting down to Auburn, getting down to South Carolina, getting down to Texas when you drove all the way to the one.
Mm-hmm.
There's too much of that. So, yes, that I definitely put on him. Playing catch-up and, you know, sometimes you play more free when you're just airing it out, and Texas A&M unfortunately had to do a little bit of that last year. But he also led them on drives to take the lead in many of those games.
Yeah, they had the lead against South Carolina.
And, well, late they didn't, but yes.
They got way down against South Carolina, came back and had the lead just before halftime and had a couple of big penalties and allowed South Carolina to kick a field goal and retake momentum into the half.
And also, they took a lead at the very end of Auburn, took a lead at the last minute of USC. Those two completely change. If the defense tackles, and I'm sorry, defense, I love you guys, but I'm just being honest, if they make a tackle on each of those games, one tackle, which I know you can't say that, like it's every game has these one play that changes. But if you tackle, we're talking about Marcel differently. If the defense makes a play, we talk about Marcel differently.
Yeah, I remember one time, as an example of what you're talking about, one time I was actually debating McGee. I hope he's here today. And we were talking about Jalen Hurts and being the, quote, losing quarterback in that national championship game against Clemson. And my take was, when he left the field,
they were up.
Not only were they up, but he had scored the touchdown to give them the lead, and then their defense couldn't stop Clemson, right? So to your point, but that was what was on. Yeah. That was what was on Hurts. Yeah. He was the losing quarterback for the national championship game. So to your point, Marcel Reed quite often put A&M in position to win games.
Yep.
And now, was he perfect? No. But why? Here's the thing: when I talk to certain people that are really critical of Marcel, I'm like, and what he might be, I'm like, you tell me. Look, every single quarterback I talk to, I'm not talking about some. Every one of them will tell you, oh, my second year as a playing was so much different.
When we get McGee in here, let's ask him about his second year.
He'll tell you.
All right. Let's give out some awards, shall we?
All right.
If you had a chance right now to give out the award for, I don't know, best brisket, who would it go to?
Oh, 1775.
All right, we'll try again. Yeah, I want to see if we can get a different answer. Okay. If you could give an award out for the best, I don't know, turkey.
Yes, 1775.
Okay. If you could give an award out, I'm going to give you something to make it harder. Okay? Actually, it's way easier now I think about it. Queso mac and cheese. Who would it go to?
Oh, my goodness. That place on, going towards Snook over on the left. 1775.
Watch this. If you could give an award for the best host in the market, you'd give it to?
1775. Brad and Brandon.
Host?
Well,
talk show host?
Oh, you didn't specify talk host. You just said host. When I go over there, they're always, hey, how you doing? Come on in. Let's have. They're great hosts.
I always say hi to you.
Yeah, but you don't give me brisket and pork ribs.
This has nothing to do with 1775, but it just tells you if you go there, this conversation could happen there. 1775txbbq.com. You can call them up 979-492-6241. The last word.
I love it.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by.
Estamos aquí, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations, OB Nuño. Let's go to the Bumpy's Catering Hotline, shall we?
Let's do.
Let's hear from Ross, who's got some questions and for sure's. Ross, welcome to TexAgs Live. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I like most of what y'all... Hey, good morning. Yeah, okay. I like most of what y'all said this morning. Olin started off, the entire season turned, Leon Moss went down. And the for sure is that if he's healthy, I don't think A&M loses 4 games in a row, including the bowl game. The other for sure and question that I have, wanted to comment on, I think, is the coaching. just like Olin said, that the second-year quarterback is going to get better. I understand Elko is not a first-year head coach. I understand Colin Klein's not a first-year coordinator, or Bateman's not a first-year coordinator either. But I think they're going to be better because they made adjustments. They put Marcel in. They were able to win on the road. But in the same vein, yeah, those last 4 games, A&M got down in all those games, and you could blame it on the defense, but the offense had a chance to score as well. So I know I was kind of all over the place, but my for sure and question really lies with the coaching staff.
Well, so you for sure feel good about the coaching staff, or you're questioning the coaching staff?
I'd say both.
Okay.
Right. So for sure is that they made adjustments and they were able to collect some road wins. The question is that, hey, why did we let A&M get in 3 score holes the last 3 games of the year? And, why didn't we score some points then, right? So it's both on the offense and defense, coaching and head coaching. So I'm basically saying, like, they both exhibited, all coaching exhibited some good and bad. I think they're going to be better their second year. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you very much, Ross. And just look, the Texas game for sure, they should have scored more, right? They should have.
Yeah. Well, when you're on the goal line and need a yard to score, yeah, you need to score.
Yep. But let's go through some of these other games. They scored 31 against USC.
Yeah.
I would have liked more, for sure.
Needed more.
And they had some opportunities, but okay, you scored enough there. The Texas game, you did not. You scored 41 in overtime against Auburn, double overtime. You scored enough, okay? South Carolina, you didn't score enough. You scored all those points in the first half. If you could have duplicated that in the second half.
Yeah, didn't do anything.
Yeah, you scored 20. And then you scored 38 against LSU. You scored 34 against Mississippi State, a game that to me should have been a sign of, because that game,
they should have scored a lot more against Mississippi
100%.
State.
Connor wasn't good that game.
Connor was not good that game. In fact, we were very fortunate that he only had, 2 interceptions?
Yep. He could have had
He could have had 4, and at least one was a pick 6.
Yep. So, and with Connor, you scored 41 against a very good Missouri team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, very good. A 10-win
Missouri team.
And a team that, we'll be preparing for some of these post-spring evaluations, and we're going to talk to an Auburn insider later on today. But people are high on Missouri, and I'm trying to figure out why. They like the quarterback situation. They like the running back situation.
Yeah, I wonder why you'd like the quarterback situation. I'm not going to say the kid from Penn State, Plebo or
Placebo?
Yeah, Placebo. That's not it. But I don't know. Then he's
Prabula.
Thank you.
Prabula.
He threw about 30 passes last year, 30 or 40 passes as a backup at Penn State. So yeah, there it is, 26 of 35 for 275. That's a nice game, right? But it's not a.
But he probably came in games where they were up,
or he was playing in games against nobodies.
Yep.
So I don't know how you can look at that and say, okay, we're good at quarterback. You might be. Now, if you knew that you were going Drew Pine, you knew you had a problem because Drew Pine played. Drew Pine played and did not play well.
Significant action in the Wisconsin win where they won 28-13. He was 11 of 13. Had a nice game there. And then
was Wisconsin good?
No, they weren't good.
Yeah.
And then, but significant action there against Ohio State. He came in for a play. Must have been an injury. And against Oregon, he got sacked on his only play.
So right. Here's a guy that just doesn't play a lot. Hadn't played a lot.
Did play well against Purdue. 5 of 8.
Purdue was miserable.
Yep.
So I'm not saying the kid's not going to be good, but I'm saying that guy is replacing a 3-year starter that was one of the probably top 6 quarterbacks in the SEC.
Yep.
Maybe higher than that.
Let's hit a break because I think we'll have Esteban McGee on the other side.
Okay.
I want to ask him the topic about year 2. How much better? I know we've talked about it, but let's go a little deeper on it. Right now, when unexpected happens, whether it's a car accident, property damage, or business liability, your preparation matters. Your insurance company matters. That's why I'm with the Rollo Insurance Group, who have me properly covered before crisis strikes. They have independent agents provide a consultation across all insurance types, giving you the confidence that details are handled correctly. They've got over 60 offices in the great state of Texas. Their headquarters, obviously, is right here in College Station on Highway 6. The true value of insurance becomes clear in those critical moments when you need to file a claim. And Rollo agents walk you through each step of the process, advocating on your behalf what support you need the most. They'll help you understand what's covered, what to expect, and how to move forward. Don't wait until disaster strikes. Reach out to them now so they can get you started and make sure that you are covered. Visit rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs or call them up 888-44-ROLLO. That is rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs, 888-44-ROLLO. Has anybody tried apple beer? That's the question. 979-693-1150, the Buffy's Catering Hotline.
The college kids love it, apparently.
Yeah. Is it made from apple, like Steve Jobs?
I don't know.
Or does it taste like apple?
I think it tastes like apple. I guess. I guess it's a
weird
mix
combo,
of,
right?
Yeah, but it's really popular now because my son couldn't find any in Baton Rouge because it's all getting sold out. So he said, "Can you find some here?" And we went to a place and they said, "Be here Tuesday at 10 o'clock because if you get here late, it'll be sold out." My wife got there. There was a whole truckload of Aggies. She had to jump out of her car with a friend of hers, and they raced the Aggies into the store. And they had a limit for 12 packs, so they got 8 12 packs between them. Apparently, the Aggies were applauding her effort, when she walked out.
Way to go. Yeah.
Wow. Did you try one?
No, I don't drink beer.
By the way, this is Stephen McGee, our QB1.
He
Paragon
probably likes
Financial
apple beer.
Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations.
Hey, I'll try anything once.
You like beer?
I like beer.
You like apples?
I like
Who doesn't
apples.
like them
Go
apples?
wrong. Yeah, of course.
It's kind of like, though, part of this sounds like I like French fries.
Yeah.
And I love enchiladas.
Yeah.
But I don't like French fries with my enchiladas.
Okay.
I like apples. I like cold beer. I don't know if I like apples in my cold beer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
it's
but apparently on college campus,
There's certain things you don't want to mix.
I asked one of the guys, Zach, the other day, and he goes, "Oh yeah, apple, yeah,
of course, Zach, of course."
And then they're like, "Sure, you can't." In fact, he said the problem is that they are always drinking warm because. Well, wait a minute. He says because
nice urine apple taste.
Because it's in such demand that you get it and then you just drink it because.
Oh no!
I mean, I don't get it. You can't put it in the refrigerator and wait a couple of hours. But
full disclosure, Reed has no idea about this. By the way, I asked, and he's
a young man of high moral fiber.
So
speaking of fiber, apples.
By the way, you need to be getting about 30 to 40 grams of fiber a day. Sorry, Stephen. Let's talk. How much better? By the way, you should. Were you in your second year?
I mean, OB can attest to this better than anybody. I would say I was
not necessarily the team. You like how much more comfortable?
I was much more comfortable. That was my biggest year. Was from my redshirt freshman year to my sophomore year, hands down. Now, did it materialize on the field? Nah, I don't think so. I mean, maybe it's better, but I think to answer your question and where we're getting at, like with Marcel, I think I was in the same stage. Like whenever it was my second to third year was my biggest leap. Year one, you're adjusting to the speed of the game. All these guys that are best athletes at your high school all come together, right? And then you have a playbook that is almost like a foreign language, right? And so you're there's just so much to absorb, right? The game is just so fast. But yeah, I think that year 2 to 3 jump was where you kind of settle in. Everything slows down a little bit, and you're able to play faster.
Specifically, in finding and reading the defense and finding the open receiver. Specifically, how much improvement did you make there, and how difficult is that?
Yeah, I think you definitely get a feel for, the part about playing quarterback is you're not just learning what you're asked to do, right? Like, hey, here's my read, it's glance high, low, whatever it may be. You're asked to say, hey, you got to know what the defense is doing, right? Because I got to know, am I reading glance high, low, or am I working my bang 8 backside, right?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So, if it's single high zone, I want to throw my bang 8, my little skinny post, right? 5 back hitch hits. So you got to be able to dissect what the defense is doing as well. So there's that learning curve. So to answer your question, I think, I got to the point where the game slowed down enough where I was able to react to what the defense was doing and get the ball out on time. I wasn't playing a step slow, trying to is it too high? Is it single high? And that was, I think some of that was confidence too, knowing it was your team.
And see, we asked you this because my whole take on Marcel is the biggest knock on him last year was finding the right guy who was open.
Yeah.
And it's my, from knowing how I was at the 6th grade at Tice to the 7th, how much better I got.
That's a big jump. That's a good year, right?
We actually, wore cleats as 7th graders.
Leather
we went barefooted as 6th. But the point I'm making is I think that's the area where you'll see him improve the most. And again, I think every quarterback gets better from year 1 to year 2 as a starter. Right?
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I think that's the question mark going into this year is where can he improve the most? Obviously the pass game, but just making good decisions, not trying to force things that aren't there, right? I mean, he's got unbelievable talent. He can, make plays with his legs. He does so many things at a very, very high level. I think the one thing is he takes the next step, not just for A&M, but the future of his career. If he wants to play in the NFL, is that exact thing is, hey, it's not there. I got to be comfortable moving, checking the ball down on my running back and take 3 yards, 4 yards, staying in front of the chains.
So one of the questions we asked to start off the show, we know questions about A&M this year. Marcel's a question. The defense is a question. But I flipped it to OB. I'll flip it to you. What are the for sure's? What do you know about this team going in that I feel really good about?
I think you have to start offensively, at least with the offensive line. You get all your guys back basically, and you got a lot of starts up front, and that should be a position strength. They should play at a very high level, and then our ability to run the football. I think you got a good stable of backs, especially if Moss is healthy and he's back at full go. He's definitely the leader of this offense. I think our offense goes as he goes. That was proven last year when he got hurt. We kind of slowed down a little bit. Look, I'm getting more optimistic about these wide receivers. I think there's a lot yet to be seen. So don't hear this the wrong way. But I came out of the spring game kind of like OB did, feeling like, man, I saw a little something, right? So they made some great catches, showed some burst.
I like Bokacher too, the tight end.
Yep.
Exactly. Yes.
I went, man, okay. I thought this guy was going to be a Nebraska plotting blocker. Okay. Yeah. No, that guy's got some juice to him.
And from the reports about Amari Niblack, I'm excited about what he could be.
Yep.
I haven't seen it, but what he could be.
Yeah. Tight end is a very important position. It's a hard position to play early at. I will say that. The physical adjustment, the mental adjustment, they have to know the run game, the pass game block schemes, and then all the pass route tree as well. So they kind of combine every position on the field. There's a big learning curve there. But yeah, tight end's a big one.
Do you have any feel really good / for sure about something on the defense? Will Lee's the only one, right? Like that you feel really good about?
Cassius Howe, I feel pretty good about. Now, is he every down guy? Does he have the motor, the drive to be great? I think he does. I think he has an unbelievable level of talent, size, speed, the bend, all those things you want off the edge. And it's such an important position. I've always said that the most important position in sports is the quarterback. The second most important position is the guy that gets after the quarterback consistently. Mm-hmm. And for us, I think that can be Cassius Howe. And then obviously your linebackers. I think you got a good stable of linebackers with Torian and Scooby, and then Jordan. What's the young guy that made Lockhart made some great plays in the spring. I get it, it's a spring game, right? Like, what do you know? Maybe not a lot, but boy, he popped. Will Lee is obviously a guy that could have come out and gone to the draft. I mean, I think he's probably a top 3 round type guy this year. And so I love Will Lee. I think that these other DBs played well in the spring game. Again, what do you know playing against your own team? But they competed well in man coverage. That's a big question mark for me. Can you play single high and not get burned? I liked what I saw out there.
All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back with a buy, sell, lease, marketing minds in sports. Okay? All right, let's talk about that. Right now, I want you to maximize your ranch's potential with Bird Dog. They're revolutionizing ranch management. You know what they do with hunting experiences, right? They're the Airbnb for the hunting community. You find a hunt there on their website, on their platform, and you'll love it, right? They'll take care of that for you, set up all the logistics. If you're a ranch owner, a landowner, they'll take care of you as well as finding you the hunters. But the other thing they offer is these tax benefits on your land. You can make an extra $100 to $500 per acre of land. That's what a lot of their clients are doing right now. So they can help you out finding your hunt, getting you the hunters, and also finding you property or some money on your property that you have not thought about. The website is birddogit.com. That is birddogit.com. Check it out. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Marketing minds in sports, okay? I thought of this because the Texans are trying to copy what in a good way, what the Cowboys did with their entertainment district, what Jerry did with Frisco, right? And I think Jerry's one of the best marketing minds in sports. Say what you want as a GM, but as a marketing minds, he's one of them. So he's one of my guys. Jerry Jones. Dana White, what he's done with the UFC. I know you guys don't follow the UFC, but he's turned it into a multi-billion-dollar sport, $4 billion brand, excuse me. And David Stern, what he did for the NBA.
Well, you're operating way outside of my lenses when you talk about UFC.
Well, let me just give you some info to help you understand, all right? Because remember, they were canceled. They were done in the 90s. When you were a kid, they were over. And Dana White and his group of the Fertitta brothers bought it and have turned it into one of the premier pay-per-views in sports. They're on ESPN. They're everywhere. So there's Dana White. David Stern, Magic and Bird turned them into a player-driven league. Obviously, we know about the Jordan, the International, the Dream Team, all the stuff. And Jerry, I mean, I think Jerry speaks for himself.
Yeah. I'll go first. I'll say if UFC was really dead, then I'll take that as my buy. I'll lease the Cowboys. Obviously, it's Jerry's done a phenomenal job of monetizing that franchise. Winning games has been a lot harder to come by, which, it's a very different thing. I think when you're talking about maximizing your wallet versus maximizing your wins and losses, or your wins, those things can at times compete with each other.
Yep.
And then the NBA, look, I'll sell that one just because I feel like those guys were going to, that era of basketball was as good as it gets. Yeah, they're going to sell themselves.
Okay. So I'm going to buy.
But remember, when he took over, I believe the NBA Finals were on tape.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'm going to buy.
Wow.
Actually, Dana White.
Wow, both of you.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Mainly because I like his politics.
I like him,
but I think that plays into it. I'm gonna lease David Stern because they had stars before, and O'Brien and those guys never even thought about, hey, let's use our star. Jerry did a great job, but the Cowboys were, quote, America's team well before so he took over a good situation, made it better.
Yeah.
I think anybody with good business sense could have made the Cowboys a lot of money if you just figure out, hey, let's double down on what we've already got.
Yeah. A couple things on Dana White, too. During COVID, he didn't lay off any employees, paid them their entire salary, and he was one of the first, or if not the first, to have live sports events during that. So props to him on that. And Stern, look, he definitely benefited from having MJ and Magic and all that, but they had stars before him. Jerry, I think, is in the conversation. That's why he's one of the three.
Look, he doubled down on what he already had.
Yeah.
And he did great things, but he already had something great to work with. The other two did not.
We got to drop it right there. We did 3 minutes of Apple beer talk, so we're done. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. That was funny, though. When we come back, Michael Earley, TexAgs Live. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio.
That?
You haven't seen me do that?
What was that?
It's my new thing. It's like I try to anticipate when Nick's going to go live. So I just go.
I've never seen that.
And it opens the segment. Like, my timing.
That's like a soccer fan clap. You
No,
know?
it's more of like a director of a team. Like,
it'd be like a.
I feel like a composer at times. You know?
Well.
Bay Nuño. Anyway, this is time for our weekly baseball conversations. Usually with Michael Earley, brought to you by Duck Camp. Duck Camp, we live for the best moments out there on the boat, casting a line, or hauling in the catch of the day. Be sure to check out Duck Camp's new spring hats like the fan favorite crawfish hat and the redfish hat at duckcamp.com. No game this week. Well, in the middle of the week, I should say. I'm curious your thoughts on maybe. I know we wanted to get a game in, especially for Jace, but maybe getting a little time off is good for the bodies.
Selfishly, at least for me, and I know I'm not an athlete, I'm not the one out there on the field performing, but it was nice to get an extra early night of sleep, right? Because we didn't have to commute back and forth to Houston, but I certainly see the merit in wanting to play the game, right? There's the argument for a guy like Jace Lavalette, who's got 2 infield singles in his last 27 at-bats. Like, you would want him to get some at-bats, face some pitching, stuff like that, just maybe start feeling a little bit better, but at this point in the season, everyone's dealing with bumps and bruises, so I think the extra recovery is probably going to be very appreciated, especially when you've got what is a very important series against Missouri this weekend, and then another important series next week at Georgia. Sorry.
For some reason, the call isn't going through to Michael Earley, so maybe Nick can send Coach Earley a Zoom phone number or link so we can try that way.
Call that an on-air production.
That's what I do. I like to have meetings
You're
as
fantastic.
we're doing things. So I'm curious of the emotional kind of back and forth of you lose to Texas, you come back and take care of business against LSU. Now you're set up, and again, you've been going through this gauntlet of ones and twos. Now it's a different kind of challenge with a team that's winless in SEC play, a team that you should beat, a team that is desperate to get a victory, and a team that's played teams very tight.
We always heard Coach Fisher, football, talk about how it's a nameless, faceless opponent. It has to be that mentality this weekend against Missouri. They're a team that's 0-24 in conference play. They're also a team that has looked capable of taking a game off of a really good opponent. I don't know if you looked at the scores, the box scores last weekend. They played Georgia, tight ball games.
Yeah.
And they've got a really good Friday night pitcher that is capable of shutting down your offense. A&M's offense hasn't been clicking like it was when they went to Fayetteville, like they went to Knoxville, stuff like that. So if you are thinking you're going to walk over the Missouri Tigers this weekend, it's not going to happen. You're going to be in for 3 really good ball games against a team that's capable of beating you. So what you have to do is control what you can control, go out there, play your brand of baseball, and the results will fall in the right place if you do that.
How remarkable is it to be in this position? Look, I know they're not in the postseason just yet, but it feels like they'll be in the postseason. But considering where things were trending for a long stretch, not a short stretch, for a very long stretch.
Just 35 days ago or whatever it was after that Friday night against Tennessee.
Right.
You got no hit and run ruled in Knoxville by the nation's #1 team in the country. You're thinking it can't get any worse. That's rock bottom. And A&M hit rock bottom and was able to rebound. But at that particular point, it was like, how are we going to get through the month of April and then the month of May? And they kept believing in themselves. That clubhouse stayed close together. Credit to Mike Earley, his coaching staff, for keeping them together. And they found ways to win baseball games.
Yep.
And they found ways to win baseball games against the nation's elite. And now they have put themselves in a wonderful position to get into the NCAA tournament with an at-large bid, but the job's not done. I think back about that 2022 team, and granted, that was a team that kept winning series after series after series after series, but the way they were winning it in slugfest without any pitching whatsoever was kind of unfathomable. It tested what I knew about the game and how it was supposed to be played and how games were supposed to be won. It's a little bit different in this aspect, and it's still a little bit unfathomable what they've been able to do just because of where they were and how they were playing and who they had to play, but they found ways to win games, and it's been very impressive.
Have you reworked what would be a successful season in your head?
Sure. Absolutely. I think you'd have to after the start they got off to. They were 1-9 in conference play. Like, at that point, just getting in is a successful season.
Is just getting in a successful season still?
I don't think so. At this point, I think they're capable of more. They've shown that they're capable of more, but you have to get in to prove that.
Right.
And I don't know if they're going to be a 2 seed in a regional, a 3 seed in a regional. There's still a world, how unlikely it may be, that they could win their next 6 conference games and play themselves into the bubble of hosting at Bluebell Park come 3 weekends from now. But we'll have that conversation at a later date when it becomes relevant. But that's still a possibility. So I think they're getting in. I think they're in. Right now, with the way the results have gone and the way I think they're going to play these next 2 weekends against Missouri and Georgia, I think they're in the NCAA tournament. And I know there's not a host out there that wants to see Texas A&M coming to their place in a regional.
Yeah, I've reworked my expectations several times this year. I wasn't for sure like Omaha or bust kind of mindset because I knew about we all knew about some of the changes, and I thought they should get to Omaha was my initial thinking.
Sure.
All right. Then it was, I don't know if they're going to win a conference game. I knew they were going to win a conference game, but it felt like I had just had no hope at all. Even though I had hope for what Coach Earley could do and what these players could do, because I didn't think they would ever quit, right? But what they have done is flip the script from, I don't know if they know how to win a game, to I expect them to win a game, and I don't care if it's against number 1 or 2. Even the Texas series, I still, in the 9th inning, expected them to find a way to win that series.
Yeah, that's why it was so tough, because they couldn't, right? Think about how much different the conversation and the outlook around A&M is if they get a 2-out hit in one of the 3 ninth innings against Texas, and they're able to come away with 1 victory, still lose the series, which is never the standard, never quote-unquote acceptable by anybody's standards at A&M. But you're sitting at 11 conference wins as opposed to 10. You would have 3 conference victories over 1, 2, and 2, and an extra win over a number 1 ranked team.
Right.
Feeling very good. You're feeling very different about where you are with just 1 win instead of getting swept out. Awesome.
Yeah, this Missouri series, I worry about everything in sports. I just worry, right? I find ways that they can win. I find ways that they can lose, and I do that with basketball, baseball, football, you name it, right? But you do not want to be their first win. You definitely don't want to be their series win. You just got to approach them, like you said, with the Jimbo Fisher thinking of just, and Coach Earley just sent me a note. So just talk about not being there first as I respond to Coach Earley.
Absolutely. Granted, I haven't watched too much Missouri baseball this year. I haven't started my research on them. That's usually a Thursday afternoon project for me. I know they're winless in conference, but I also know that they've played teams close. And I know for the trajectory that A&M has got themselves back on over the last 5 weeks, you can't afford a letdown this weekend or next weekend. Now, granted, Georgia's a much better ball club than Missouri is, and it's going to be a much more difficult test going on the road to Athens as opposed to playing at home in front of the 12th man. But Missouri's capable. Everyone in this league is capable of beating you on any given day. Like I said, you just have to play your brand of baseball, do what you've been doing the last 5 weeks, and the results will fall because the game rewards people who do stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have figured out a plan to get Coach Earley on the program. There's something going on with phones in the world. So hopefully we'll get him here in the next few seconds. Because look, I'm back to where I was at the start of the season, that this team can be that team still.
Oh, yeah.
I am still there.
The excitement's back, right?
Let's go to the Buppy's Catering hotline. We're joined by Michael Earley. Coach Earley, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Sorry, I think with the graduation, my phone's gone haywire. So.
We appreciate you finding a way to get on the program, sir. So we're just kind of talking about how this week has gone. You thought you were going to have the game against Houston. That gets canceled. I don't know, what kind of work. Just kind of take us through the week itself.
Yeah, we prepared just like a normal week. Monday was an off day, and then Tuesday, we did our pre-hitting like we were going to head to Houston, and then actually got on the bus and didn't take off yet, but found out it was canceled. So just got right back off the bus, had a good hitting session, and yesterday was a typical day like we do after a Tuesday game, but I think a little heavier than what we normally do just because we didn't play. So just getting in preparation and starting preparing for the weekend.
What is the thought process of wanting to play a game on Tuesday, your final midweek, versus getting extra rest late in the season, knowing what lies ahead for you? Missouri, Georgia, SEC tournament, then potentially the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I always want to play. I hate games getting canceled ever since I was a kid. So we wanted to play, but at the same time, the rest was needed. And, once it happened, it was, we definitely made a positive out of it. So it's good for our guys to get rest. And we've had a lot of emotional weekends and games. So I think that little reset was good for us.
Speaking of emotional games and series, like you've had these tests, this number 1 team, the number 2 team, the 1 team, the 2 team. Now you're taking on a team that has not won a game, but I'm sure, like for you all, you just put your head down and do the same work, right?
Yeah, I think the reason we've been able to put ourselves in a position to, come out of what we came out of is just that. We stopped, we're not worrying about the opponent. We're not worrying about who we're playing. We're just trying to play good baseball for 9 innings. So our guys, they'll be ready to play. And they've shown that. I mean, even in Tuesday games after emotional weekends, they've just been coming out and playing good baseball. So, and Missouri, I mean, they're not having the year I'm sure they've wanted to have. Everyone knows they haven't won a game in the SEC. They've played some tight games with some teams that have beat us. So it's going to be, I expect it to be a typical SEC weekend. And just like us, they got players on their team that are really, really talented. So it's going to be a challenge.
How are you, your staff, and the players going about managing the extra emotion that comes along with this being your last home series, right? You've got guys like Jace Lavalette, Ryan Prager, Brad Rudis, Hayden Schott, and so many others that are going to be potentially lining up for the last time in maroon and white in front of the 12th man.
Yeah, I think that'll be exciting for them. I mean, I think they'll look at it more in that light than anything negative, like, I hope they take it in, they enjoy it. And I think they've done that every time they've got to step on this field because this place is really special and they moment for them. And I think it'll give them a little extra energy. It would definitely with me. So it's a pretty cool accomplishment for all those guys to be able to play all the games and big games they've got to play at our field.
And then with it being your first senior day as a head coach, what are the plans this weekend to honor those guys?
Yeah, we'll honor them. We decided early on it'll be before game 2. We just did that in case there's, you can't forecast rain months in advance. So just did that. So we'll honor them before game 2. And, we got a little something for them. And then, we'll get on with the game.
Talking to Michael Earley here on TexAgs Live. Coach, how's the health of the team? How's Weston Moss doing?
He's doing good. I mean, every day he continues to get better. So he's putting weight on, keeping fluids in him. Not saying that like he's sick right now. He's just he's definitely on the upswing, getting closer to 100%. I think, after seeing him this weekend and just been seeing him the last couple of days, I would think by this weekend he'll be pretty close to it.
A lot has been made over the last couple weeks about Jace Lavalette and the production that's kind of dipped. How has he looked? What has he done this week that leads you to believe he's capable of getting back to himself this weekend?
Yeah, we've made some adjustments to try to get him right, but he's got to, the main thing with him is he's got to, mentality-wise, has to go up there with a plan and execute that plan and not deviate if things don't go his way, which is tough as a hitter, but we've got to get him back to not missing the strikes he should hit and mostly taking pitches that he should not swing at because, he doesn't get a lot of pitches to hit. And when he's good, he hits those pitches, and the pitches he doesn't get to hit, he doesn't swing at them. It's as simple as that. So we've made some adjustments and put in some work, and whenever you can win a series without a guy like Jace producing, my baseball mind thinks, well, it's coming, and he's going to be on for the next one. So he'll be ready to go this weekend.
And Ryan Prager, I know we talked about him on Monday, but has there been something in particular that you've seen that's helped him kind of get his groove back? Is it something JK's done, or is it just baseball? It was going to find its way back to the norm for him?
He's made a couple adjustments, just some stuff with his back leg and where he stands on the rubber. But mostly, I think, in those games or outings where he perceivably didn't pitch well, it was because of, 2 or 3 pitches. Now it's just limiting those and throwing, a complete game, however long that game is, but just executing more pitches than he did. The stuff is is really relatively the same. It's just he was letting a few balls get away and leaving them up, and he's just executed at a higher level. That's been the biggest difference.
Obviously, everyone knows Missouri's winless in conference at 0-24, but a deeper dive into the Tigers show that they give a number of teams some problems. So what particular challenges are you expecting to see from Mizzou this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, they got some guys on the team that can really swing the bat. They're Lovich. He's a really, really good player. Just, a guy I would take on our team right now, like just draft guy. So they got talent. That's the thing. They just, baseball's tough and they haven't strung it together consistently. And then they got some arms that have some really good stuff. So, so the offense is definitely talented and no lack of talent in the SEC. No doubt about it, especially in baseball. It's hard, right? I mean, anyone can beat anyone on any given day. So, their record is not due to a lack of talent. So, and when you got talent, sometimes that can sneak up on you. So we'll be prepared for them. I'm looking at this weekend, just like we looked at Texas, LSU, Arkansas. Like it's no different for us. So it's going to be a handful, and that's what we'll expect. So we'll be ready for it.
Coach Earley, talk to us about first base and the options you have with Gavin and Blake, obviously, and just what a luxury it is to have two different options that you can count on.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to be able to match up left, right, if appropriate, and the splits give it to you. But also, Cash brings a different element of defense out there. I think he changed our team when we put him at first base defensively. And then when he got hurt, Bendy really got that other opportunity and really stepped up offensively. So it is nice to have two different guys and have to make a tough decision. I like where they're both at, and you're going to see them. You'll see them both in a capacity. I think it'll be rare if you ever see. I could be wrong saying this, but I think it's likely you see them both play in a lot of games. So maybe one starts at first, one comes in, or vice versa. So I think that's an option, or maybe one at DH. But yeah, it's nice to have two different guys that you feel like you can count on. But for me, it's going to be like who gets on base the most and who plays the best defense.
Coach Earley, we appreciate it, sir. Thanks so much for making time.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Earley here on TexAgs Live. I appreciate his time here on the program, and that is brought to you by Duck Camp.
Rescued us from the open segment.
Yeah.
Mike Earley, lifesaver.
Yeah. Like, he's like, you know what? This number isn't working. Call this one.
Jeez.
So what
problem solver.
What other SEC baseball coach would do that? He's the one.
He's ours.
He's our guy. Anyway, look, I liked what he said, though. Like, the reason they're in this position is because they haven't worried about a team being number one or being 0-24, right? They're just playing their brand of baseball, and that's why they're in this position.
That was the perfect response to that question. I didn't expect anything else from him, but I thought that was the perfect response.
Yep. Richard, thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Of course. Big match today. Big match today.
Tennis?
Tottenham Hotspur. European football,
What round are we in?
It's the Europa Cup semifinal, second leg.
Huh. And you're up or down?
We're up 3-1. They're playing Bodo Glimt, and do you know where that's at?
No.
It's inside the Arctic Circle. It's one of two top-flight clubs that play their home matches inside the Arctic Circle.
That's interesting.
Norway.
And if your team were to win, who would they likely play?
Probably Man United.
Oh, forget about it. Congratulations on all EPL
Need a trophy.
finals.
Need a trophy.
Because the EPL had a rough one in the Champions League.
Yes, they did. And that was good because Arsenal lost, and everyone loves when Arsenal loses except for Ryan Broninger, but everyone loves when Bronny's sad.
PSG is about to win, I think. Well, we'll see if Inter. 9 people care about what we just talked about. Those 9. A moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. If you're a business owner, you need to listen up because you want to take your operation to the next level. And Caldwell Country Chevrolet has just expanded their selection of commercial vehicles to meet your every need. They have service body trucks. They have heavy-duty flatbeds. They have medium-duty trucks that can handle those tough jobs. And they've got the muscle for your business demands. And they are also a newly designated business elite dealer. They understand what it takes to keep your company moving forward. And every commercial vehicle comes with their legendary free oil change for life because they believe in supporting local businesses. Remember, it's not a far drive. We're talking 15 minutes, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot. And you do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. I recognize that Nick and Reed will not probably know what I'm about to talk about. I'm going to talk about football here in a second, and we got to read some comments. We got a lot to do in the next 7-8 minutes. But I was on YouTube yesterday, and I found a video of Emilio Estevez. Are you familiar with Emilio Estevez? No chance.
No.
Nick, do you know who that is?
I'm gonna guess he's a fighter.
No.
Okay, that was my guess.
Have you seen Mighty Ducks?
Yes.
The main guy from Mighty Ducks.
Okay.
Okay, you know who that is, right, Nick? You're a big Mighty Duck guy.
Sure.
Okay. He made a movie. He made a series of movies when I was a kid called Young Guns about Billy the Kid. Are you familiar?
Yes.
You familiar with Young Guns? Seen it?
It's been a while. I know I've seen it. I can't.
Kiefer Sutherland, Lou Diamond Phillips, Emilio Estevez, and I'm sure there was somebody else famous. Are you guys the brother from Ferris Bueller? You've seen Ferris Bueller?
Yes.
Okay. Those guys are all in it. Okay. Are you familiar with this movie, Nick? No.
I'm googling him as we speak.
Him or Young Guns?
Can't say I've seen Young Guns.
Okay. Young Guns is a classic. Okay. My kids think all I do watch is like cowboy movies. That's not true.
I think the only movie that I've seen that he's in was The Outsiders, and that's just because we watched it in high school.
You
we all
didn't
read
watch
the book.
Mighty Ducks?
No.
As a child?
Nope.
Huh. Are you familiar with his brother?
No.
Charlie Sheen.
Oh, really?
Or his very famous father, I think who's passed away, Martin Sheen.
I'm very familiar with Charlie Sheen.
Well, you should know Martin Sheen. Okay? Bigger deal than Charlie.
Where's this going, by the way?
Oh, they're going to make a Young Guns 3. Like 40 years after the first or the last
Are all
one.
the main people going to be in it?
Yes, they're all
Old?
coming back. It's weird. Sorry. I know our audience definitely, I guarantee if I ask YouTube, answer, TexAgs Super Chat, answer, 979-693-1150. Do you guys know about Young Guns and the legend of Billy the Kid? Did he really die at the end of Young Guns? Did he? Or did he move to Texas, in Central Texas, it's a small town? Anyway, I found it to be interesting that they're making a part 3 because everything's about bringing stuff back. 40 years later, Billy the Kid, I'm sorry, nobody cares. Okay, I already feel the hate already. Read us a text or two, shall we? Or shall you?
Yeah, no, we have plenty of texts. Some of these are about football from when we were talking with Obi. I think his name is just Jay, but he says the ceiling isn't that high for our football team simply because Marcel Reed isn't that good of a QB. I haven't seen anything that would make me change my mind.
He isn't that good of a QB, and I haven't seen anything that would change my mind. Anything.
That's what he says.
He hasn't seen anything. Now, he's got a lot to prove to be an elite, excellent, really good SEC quarterback. But the line was he hasn't seen anything that would change his mind.
Mm-hmm. Well, but Drew came back.
Well, hold on. I want to come back.
Okay.
Was he not elite, friggin' elite, against LSU?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, wouldn't you say, if you were to take the two biggest offensive moments of the 24 season, Connor Wickman had one against Missouri. He was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And Marcel saved what could have been a downward spiral against LSU. See or no?
Yes. Yeah,
okay, thank
I
you.
agree.
What did Drew say?
Well, Drew kind of just said what you did. He said, did you not watch the Florida or LSU game? He has the talent, just needs to be consistent.
He's got to do a better job reading, right? No doubt. He's got to read defenses better. He's got to get a better ball. He's got to throw a better ball, excuse me. Look, I came into last season thinking Connor Wickman was going to be one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the SEC. I don't have those expectations for Marcel. I think if Marcel can be middle of the pack, right now he's listed as 5 or 6 in a lot of these. I don't know if he's that high. I don't know. I think he can be that high. I think he can be higher. But if he can be middle of the pack, 7, 8-ish quarterback in the SEC, plus a healthy running game, plus a defense that tackles, this is a 10-win team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need him to be number 3. I'd love for him to be top 3. That'd be fantastic. Fred, Young Guns was not terrible. It was an iconic movie. Anyway, if we get middle of the pack to it, and look, I want him to be way better than the middle of the pack. And I'm putting a lot of qualifiers. If this, if that. I recognize that. I'm telling you today, if he can take a couple steps forward, I don't need him to be the top 3 quarterbacks in the SEC. Couple steps forward, and the defense takes a couple steps forwards, this team can win 10 games this year. if he's what he was last year and the defense doesn't make a significant jump, then we could be worse. That's the truth. We could win-loss record could be worse. Let's get another one in.
So Nick says, hopefully A&M doesn't play like the Celtics last 2 games this weekend.
I didn't watch. I just know they collapsed.
Yeah.
And the Knicks are 2 games away from the NBA Finals. The last time the Knicks went to the NBA Finals, young Reed, was when?
It's a while ago.
1994. Not that long ago, to be honest with you. Okay? Just so you recognize. The O.J. Simpson case was going on right around that time. You know who O.J. is?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
just making sure.
The glove doesn't fit.
He must have quit. Anyway, that's how long ago it's been. All right, we'll hit a break. Let's talk to Aaron Torres. We'll try to class this joint up. Maybe he's watched Young Guns. No chance. He's young. All right, let's talk about valuing or transferring your value of what you love, like your family business, your family ranch. We're talking about preserving the family name. Perhaps you want to preserve that family ranch or farm. It's not just about capturing pretty pictures on your land. I'm talking about Heritage Films, what they do. They have a new product called Farm and Ranch Films. They understand what really matters, that you built your operation on, to the generations that are going to inherit it. Chance McClain is a dear friend of mine. He's interviewed thousands of people, and he's discovered something profound. These aren't just businesses. They're blueprints for building character. So if he's done stories on timber farmers, thinking in 100-year cycles, to cattle ranchers preserving their traditions. And that's the beauty of what Chance and his team are doing. Farm and Ranch Films captures the wisdom your grandkids are going to need. Visit the website, yourheritagefilm.com, and click on the Farm and Ranch section of the website, or call them up 713-893-8341 to preserve not just your story, but your family's tradition. It worked. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's talk some football. I guarantee you pop culture is going to come up because the accidental topic that just happened on the show, just on accident, time for around college sports and pop culture, brought to you by Milliken Reserve, a College Station community featuring homes, trails, farms, and wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. Take part in the Milliken Reserve community with a Conservancy membership. Learn more, millikenreserve.com. With that, we go to the Buffy's Catering Hotline. That's where we find AT. Aaron Torres, what up, buddy?
David Nuño, what's up, bud? How you doing?
¿Qué pasa, señor? What's up?
Not much. You know, I'm not a huge pop culture guy, despite what you may think. I don't watch a ton of movies. I don't listen to a ton of music, but I'm intrigued by this pop culture topic that you seem to think that I'm going to be very into.
I don't know if you'll be interested in it, to be honest with you. And it's actually not pop culture. This is 1985 pop culture. Have you ever seen the movie Young Guns? Are you familiar with Young Guns? Are you familiar with Emilio Estevez? Any of these people?
I mean, Coach Gordon Bombay. Of course, I'm familiar with Emilio Estevez. I don't know about the movie, but yeah, give me all the Gordon Bombay trivia you want. I'll be good to go. Screw Team Iceland. I remember Mighty Ducks too.
Yeah, this is more about Young Guns. He's making a part 3. Young Guns was about Billy the Kid. And I asked my audience if they knew, because Reed didn't know, Nick didn't know, AT doesn't know, and of course, us olds know all too well about this movie.
Billy the Kid, that's the, I know Billy the Kid. I'm not familiar with that movie specifically.
Well, I'm going to give you a project to watch it and answer back if they should make a part 3. The last time they made a Young Guns, I'm assuming, was 1987. That's a guess. Probably around that time.
A while ago. It was a while ago. That was a while ago.
Buddy, are you ready for this whole house settlement stuff to be over with? Like, I don't think I'm smart enough sometimes when these articles come out about what's happening. Like, I get the framework, but sometimes I'm just like, can we just fix it and move on?
Yeah, so it's funny, watching Ross Dellinger, who is amazing at what he does, and this is not a shot at Ross Dellinger, I was like, you could not pay me enough to sit in these courtrooms and have to, just put out information. I'll give you a quick side story, David. I remember many years ago, I actually worked in TV production at FS1, and it was around the time of Deflategate. Obviously, the Tom Brady stuff, whatever it was, 10, 15 years ago now. And every day there would be a new court proceeding this and court proceeding that. And, you're sitting in the room with the producers and how do we cover it today? And I just blurted out. And I was like the most, I don't know if junior is the right word to put it, but I was pretty much the least important person in that room. And I said, I don't think the average sport, until we get a decision, I don't think the average sports fan cares at this point. Just talk to us about what's going on in sports. And when there's a final decision, there's a final decision. And, one, I don't think my bosses appreciated the candor, but I think we're at that point with this house settlement thing where it's like, yes, you and I have to monitor it, but I do, 4 or 5 podcasts a week. I do a radio show or 2 every week, and I promise you it will not be mentioned other than, hey, this thing is still going on, and when there's news that actually comes out of it, we'll discuss it, but we're not breaking this thing down play by play. I think it's an important topic, but to discuss it at length is a pseudo disservice to the audience.
Well, the thought was it could be settled by today. It looks like they're having an extension to kind of go over certain things. And I just kind of want to know, when you decide what it's going to be, what is college football going to look like at that point, or college sports? That's kind of where I'm at. And, I know that President Trump's putting up a group together to figure out X, Y, Z. Just tell me what the final results are. Like, give me a spoiler alert. Or no, yeah, just tell me the spoiler. Tell it all to me. I want to know what happens, how he dies at the end of the story.
Yeah, first of all, I love that you're like, I'm too dumb to cover this, because I'll be honest, that's not a knock on you. I feel the exact same way. And I do think, by the way, I think there's some interesting, byproducts of what could potentially come out of this. And of course, the number one thing being, is anyone actually going to abide by a quote unquote $20 million salary cap for their athletic department? We saw the stories about, Texas, being allegedly, reportedly at about $40 million. We've seen the stories this spring about most college basketball programs, the elite ones, spending $10+ million. I just don't know how you put the toothpaste back in the tube. And then I'll even take it a step further. I don't know how you regulate, endorsement opportunities. The NBA has a salary cap on salary. They don't have a salary cap on what you can sign with for Adidas or Nike or Gatorade. So I think there's definitely some interesting, discussions that will come out of whatever is decided. But to your point, just decide it, and then guys like you and I can have those sorts of conversations.
Talking to AT, Aaron Torres here on TexAgs Live. AT, let's talk about this, another business of sports that I know you probably don't care at all about. But it looks like we're moving in a direction that the SEC will probably, if not for sure, in the next month, decide on 9 games. And that comes on, we'll see if it ends up happening, because I think ESPN is willing to pay them $50 to $80 million to have that 9th game. But I guess the part of the question I was going to bring up is, I almost feel like they're forced to do it based on what the results of the Big Ten has done these last couple years, winning the national championship. And oh, by the way, they've made $80 million more than the SEC.
Yeah, I think it is funny. I think we've been in college sports in this race to make the most money in every decision that we make. And, I don't know that it's a net positive for, the actual participants. And when I say participants, I mean coaches, players, but also fans as well, is that, I saw a poll last week of just a mid-spring power ranking of SEC football. And, Kentucky was in last because somebody's got to be 16th in a 16-team league. And, we can debate, are they last? Is it Arkansas? Is it Mississippi State? Whatever. But I just remember I remember the day at SEC Media Days that it broke, that Oklahoma and Texas, that maybe this was going to happen. And I remember sitting there saying, I understand you're going to make more money, but if you're, and I literally said Kentucky, Arkansas, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, why would you ever agree to this? How much money is enough to sacrifice, just the joy of being competitive? And so I only bring it up because, listen, whatever we think about the SEC, is the Big Ten, did the Big Ten surpass them last year? Whatever. The SEC is still a real gauntlet. You had 8 league games a year ago, and you struggled to get 3 teams in. Now you're going to add an extra game for everybody else. What does that mean for Alabama? What does that mean for, a South Carolina team that took 3 losses in league play? What does it mean for, I just think that I get it. And maybe it just won't matter as much when we go to the world of auto bids in the college football playoff. But again, I get wanting to make more money, but the counter to that is it's 1 more loss for half the league, and it's 1 more, it's 4 more it's 8 more fan bases that just go to bed at night frustrated 1 more time over the course of a season.
Talking to Aaron Torres here on TexAgs Live. AT, I know you love college basketball. Bucky's trying to put together a nice squad. When you look at some of the additions, and I don't know how much you know about Federico, but they've had a really nice couple of weeks here adding players to this roster just in the last 10 days. Marcus Hill, Jamie Vinson, Federico. Like they're adding dudes, and Rylan Griffin is the big name, really. What do you think about some of these additions, and how quickly can a team that had nobody kind of compete? Not necessarily to win the SEC, but compete to maybe have a chance for the tournament.
Well, first of all, I'd say, what do I know about Federico? Ask your boy John Neighbors next time you have him on, because Federico basically turned the Arkansas-Texas Tech Sweet 16 game when he got about 4 straight offensive rebounds and Arkansas had no answers on the board. So nice pickup. To your broader question, listen, this is the world that we live in now, is that there's no reason that any team, can't have immediate success. I mean, you go back to last year, of the Sweet 16, 4 of those teams had first-year head coaches, BYU, Arkansas, Kentucky, and Michigan. Now, and I've told you this, I listened to your interview with Bucky. It was awesome, and I appreciate you guys doing it because it gave me a lot of insight into him. I will say what he did say during that interview, which is that he was at a big disadvantage because he got the job so late. But I think all things considered, I think he's done an excellent job bringing in talent, guys that have played at high major level. I guess just my question is, and I don't know if he's addressed this, is Bucky Ball going to be Bucky Ball the way that we knew it at Stanford? Because obviously, at Stanford, you don't have the opportunity to recruit a lot of true 7-footers. Mackenzie Mbako is a guy that's like 6'9", but he's not really a shooter. He's more kind of a slasher around the rim guy. So I just bring it up because I will be curious to see, does the style of play change as you have access to better talent? But no, I've been impressed with what he's done, especially, again, given, this year on the calendar, it was pretty late in the process to get the job, April 5th, April 6th, April 7th, whenever it was.
Talking to AT, Aaron Torres on TexAgs Live. Tell me about this kid you tweeted about, Boogie. He's getting, what, $15 million in NIL? He's a high school kid. What can you tell me?
Which one?
Was there a kid that you tweeted about receiving a $15 million deal, one of the youngest kids?
I don't know. The big story this week was Boogie Flan from Arkansas. There was a report that he was going to get $7 million if he returned to college from Florida. And all I'll say is Florida lost its best returning player to Kentucky because they couldn't afford him. So I didn't believe that story. I don't think I've tweeted anything about a $15 million player. Maybe I have. I don't know. But I think Boogie Flan was probably the story that caught everybody's attention this week. But I promise you, he's a good player. He is not making anything close to $7 million if he returns to college basketball.
Well, what kind of player is he?
Boogie Flan?
Yeah, tell us. Break us down. Break down his game.
He's really good. There's two things. Statistically, he was having one of the best seasons in the history of SEC basketball for a freshman. He was averaging like 16.6 assists. Problem is that he gets hurt and Arkansas immediately goes on a run and is awesome. But he's testing the NBA draft process. I don't know if any of the Aggies guys are in the draft process, but the NBA Combine is next week, and I know it doesn't get the play of the NFL Combine, but it's kind of important because there's about 7-8 really good players that are in the portal that are either committed to a school but might not declare or are uncommitted. And next week is going to kind of be, okay, are they legitimate NBA draft prospects? If they are they coming back to school, all that. So I will say next week is actually a pseudo-important week as far as the draft process is concerned and as far as what college basketball rosters could look like. And I would add Boogie Flan is one of those guys that will be at the Combine. If he has a really good week, he's probably not coming back. If he does not have a very good week, then it could be an interesting bidding war in the middle of May to try to get him to return to college basketball.
Well, we got to hit a break here, but a couple of Aggies are going to be there. Wade Taylor, who's expected to, he's not going to come back. He's done. And Mbako as well, who I think is just more, I'm hoping it's more of an exploratory thing.
Yeah. No, and that's where it is. Listen, it's the cliche, but it's the truth. And I'll be quick. I know we got to go. But is that there's so much money to be made in college basketball now that you don't have to rush the process. So I don't see him as being like a lock first-round pick. I think it'll be good for him to get out in front of NBA scouts, but I would expect him to return back to college basketball and be running through the tunnel at Reed Arena next year. I know you got to go, bud, so thank you.
Appreciate you, AT. Talk to you soon.
All right, have a good week. We'll talk soon.
Later, bud. Aaron Torres there on the Buppy's Catering Hotline. We'll hit a break here. If your car was hit by the recent hailstorm, there was just one this week. There was one like a month ago. Don't trust an out-of-town pop-up tent with your car. Trust somebody who's local, somebody who cares about this community, and somebody who's been in this community for a long, long time. I'm talking about Classic Collision Restoration. What they do is they specialize in paintless dent repair for hail damage. So if you are, getting these phone calls of these out-of-town guys, like they're going to be gone if they're not already gone. A lot of them are just calling with a fake phone number. You don't want to deal with them. You want to make sure that you handle somebody or handled by somebody that's going to take care of you, understands your insurance claim, and gets you the service that you need in keeping your business local. They've been around for 25 years here in the Brazos Valley, and they were here to help you. Don't get your car fixed. Get it restored with Classic Collision and Restoration. They were Aggie owned and operated. Doug Leopold, class of 1993, 979-779-8399, or online at classiccollisionrestoration.com. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Callie in the background dancing a moment ago. It looked like she was kind of moving her knees.
She will just dance all the time, like no music playing. She's just doing like the gritty in the background or something like that. So she can't. You can't help it.
Oh, she's actually doing the gritty right now. My goodness, I didn't know that was still a thing. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center and see if Reed Neal can do the gritty.
I don't know that you want me to do the gritty.
You got news for us, though, right?
I'll take it full screen. We can do that. You can do it across the desk.
Can we do it?
It's your last day, dude.
I'll do it for the rewind.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't think you would really say yes to it, but okay. There we go. Gritty Neal.
So, the the number 1 ranked Texas A&M softball team opens the SEC tournament as the number 2 seed against number 7 seed South Carolina Gamecocks tonight at Jack Turner Stadium. And then on the baseball side of things, A&M reliever Grant Cunningham has been named a finalist for the Tony Gwynn Trophy. The Tony Gwynn Trophy is for the 2025 season and is intended to honor collegiate baseball athletes who are active in their community, represent their programs with integrity while excelling in the classroom and on the field.
Yeah, that's. I'm not going to ask you if you know who Tony Gwynn is. I'm not. You know who Tony Gwynn is?
No.
Okay.
Dude.
Nick Savage, come on, buddy.
Yes, of course I do.
All right, how would you describe Tony Gwynn?
Is his nickname Mr. Padre, right? Is that, or am I making that up?
He's just the greatest hitter.
You just didn't strike out.
Greatest hitter of, I think, my lifetime. I don't think he's the greatest. I don't know.
One of the greatest, for sure.
Of my lifetime, I'm trying to think, especially when baseball was real. He was the best hitter.
Good argument. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree.
Yeah.
Yes, I know who he
And
is.
his son, I believe, does he still do TV? I feel like he's on Turner or one of those channels. I believe Tony Gwynn Jr. is a baseball analyst. All right, that's a segment about nothing. When we come back on TexAgs Live, we'll do a little breakdown on Auburn. We got to play Auburn. I'm talking about A&M. Football's got to play Auburn. We'll get to know them a little bit more out of their spring camp. That and more is TexAgs Live. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Appreciate everybody listening in. As we've been doing, we're going to be going through and just kind of checking in with insiders, breaking down what teams that A&M is going to face this year, and even some other teams as well are going to look like, especially after the spring camp. We go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. We're joined by Darrell Dapprich, Auburn insider. You can find his work at Locked On Auburn and News Talk WANI. Darrell, what's up, buddy?
Hey, man, how you doing? It's good to be on with you guys again.
Appreciate
Long
you.
time.
Yeah, man, it's been a minute. So I was a little surprised. I forget who it was. I think it was Joel Klatt, but a couple different polls has Auburn like top 10, right? Number 10, I think it was. Are they really like, is that the vibe? Like, do you all feel like that's Auburn, the Auburn we're going to get this year, a team that could compete for a top 10 spot?
No, not yet. I mean, proof of concept, it has to happen on the field. I will say this. It's a great point that you bring up because unlike last year, there is more of a vibe. Andy Staples, Joel Klatt, Bill Conley, some of these national writers and national publications have given Auburn what I consider to be a lot of a bump, a bigger bump than last year. And I was quite honestly surprised by it. So were some of the other people in the Auburn media that cover Auburn. And I kind of did a deep dive, and I was trying to figure out what would it be? What would move the needle from last year's offseason to this year? And I think the transfer portal and what Auburn did in the portal and who they have coming back, and also the perceived or perception of the upgrade at the quarterback position has moved the needle from somebody who was supposed to be a 6-6 football team to maybe somebody that can get 8 or 9 wins and get in the top 25. But I think 10 is too high. I think top 10 is way too high. I could see a scenario, David, where Auburn, with the schedule and getting off to a kind of a quick start and cleaning up some of the things that haunted them last year, could be a top 25 football team.
Darrell, my audience knows it's kind of a joke on this show, but I'm the reason A&M lost in overtime to Auburn. And it's my fault, and I'll tell you why it was my fault. I, for like a year and a half, a year at least, was like, Peyton Thorne's the worst quarterback I've ever seen. Like, at least at Kyle Field. Peyton Thorne was really good against Texas A&M a year ago or a few months back. But why should I believe that Jackson Arnold, who I know has got a lot of skills, and I do believe with those wide receivers that he has at his disposal in a different offense, but we didn't see a lot from him before. So why are people expecting him to do so much more this year?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think the skill set is definitely more valued than what Peyton Thorne had. I mean, you can't judge things on stars or rankings. Jackson Arnold came in as a 5-star quarterback. Peyton Thorne was a 3-star. I think Peyton Thorne was his own worst enemy. I think that Peyton Thorne had more weapons last year than he had the year before, but will have nowhere near the weapons Jackson Arnold has. Let's just be honest. And what happened between year 1 and year 2 of Hugh Freeze's coaching tenure at Auburn is they did give Peyton Thorne more weapons, but there were interceptions. There was not being able to finish in the red zone, and there was horrible special teams. And Peyton Thorne, although he did play better last year statistically, he did. You have to look at that and give the man credit for that. He still couldn't finish drives, and he cost Auburn 2 games with 2 big turnovers. If Jackson Arnold stays away from that and just uses his legs when he needs to, he's got a better arm than Peyton Thorne. He's got more arm talent. He can put the ball in tighter windows. If he just gets the ball to these talented groups of receivers, I think that's why there's the perceived bump that he'll play better.
Darrell, kind of a dumb question, but you're on an A&M show, so I ask, how much of a bump do you think Auburn gets for that victory against A&M? Because I feel like it just kind of changes the way the end of the season went. I think they went 3-2 the last 5 games, lost to Vandy, lost to Alabama. That A&M game, they were up. A&M takes the lead. They have the lead late, and you know how overtime. Like, how much of an extra bump did that game give them, especially the way the wide receivers played?
I think that what it showed them is if they get in a tight game and don't have self-inflicted things down the stretch, you can live with the fact that Texas A&M started making a comeback. I mean, Auburn started that game on fire and looked like they were going to run A&M out of Jordan-Hare Stadium, but then give Texas A&M credit. They came back. Auburn proved that if they don't shoot themselves in the foot and they get in a close football game and they use their weapons, they can win. Now, that being said, I was right there in the end zone at the end of those overtimes, and I don't remember who the receiver was for you guys that dropped that pass. Let's be honest, that's a little bit of luck. Auburn got ranked from a metric system from a guy named Bill Conley, the unluckiest team in America last year, which is kind of ironic that play was the unluckiest thing that could have happened to Texas A&M. I believe if that keeps going into more overtimes, Texas A&M finds a way to win that game. So let's be honest and consider, as an Auburn fan, and I was telling everybody this on the postgame podcast, Auburn finally caught a break in the year that they were giving up a ton of breaks to other teams. And that's why I feel like it showed them, hey, just don't shoot yourself in the foot, and maybe the other team you're playing can make a mistake that helps you win a football game.
That was Theo Mellon-Ordstrom who dropped the tight end, who dropped that pass. So let's talk about the wide receivers. We saw Cam Coleman up close and personal. He was fantastic. Eric Singleton, I think Pro Football Focus has them as like the 5th and 6th ranked returning receivers in the country. Talk to us about the playmakers on that team, on both, and running backs as well.
Yeah, so Cam Coleman, obviously having almost 600 yards as a freshman, he really got a lot better the last half of the season. He had some drop C problems early on, but he really played good the last 3 or 4 games. Eric Singleton, who you mentioned, played so well for Georgia Tech and is one of the highest rated receivers in the transfer portal. Auburn gets him, dynamic speed. But there's 2 other guys or 3 other actually, that people are sleeping on that I think Auburn, if they ever go 5 wide and decide to run a personnel package where they take the tight ends off the field, which by the way is a very weak room for Auburn right now, and go 5 wide, Malcolm Simmons was dynamic as a freshman last year, especially in the slot. Look for him to have a bigger year. Horatio Fields, who came from Wake Forest, I watched him in the spring. Auburn's receiving room was so pathetic 2 years ago that Horatio Fields probably would have been their best receiver. He's a really good number 4, David. And then Perry Thompson, the 5-star freshman that everybody's been waiting to kind of emerge and bust out, had a really good spring and made some dynamic circus catches in the spring game. I think that the wide receiver room is going to be elite. And if Auburn doesn't find a way to throw to the wide receivers and eliminate some of this other stuff that they did that's what I call white noise, they're going to be hurting themselves and giving them not a chance to win. Now, the running back room is different because they don't have that one bell cow. They don't have the Jarquez Hunter, Tank Bigsby, Kerryon Johnson, Trey Mason. It's running back by committee. Jeremiah Cobb's a good back, but he's good between the 20s. Darrell Robinson, who they got from UConn's a little bit of a bigger back. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. Damari Alston's been there 3 years. He's a slasher. This is the one year where I think it's okay for Auburn to have a running back by committee and don't need that one bell cow back because of the way I think they're going to throw it and because of what the wide receivers are capable of doing.
Auburn's been recruiting great talent the last couple of years. The wins have not been there for Hugh Freeze just yet, the number of wins. How big of a year is this for Hugh Freeze? Like if they go 6-6, is he safe? If they go 5-7, if they, I think 8-4 or better is exactly what Auburn's expecting. But what if it doesn't reach that level?
I think they gave him a little bit of a grace period the first 2 years because he said it takes 3 really good recruiting classes to get this thing going. And so I think year 3, when you look at this roster, there's no excuses, David. I mean, and not only from a recruiting standpoint, this is the 3rd recruiting class he's stacked on top of each other. He's done what he needed to do in the portal. He's got a very experienced, talented offensive line coming back. He went and got Xavier Chaplin in the portal, who is probably the best offensive tackle in the portal from Virginia Tech. He got Mason Murphy from USC to start at the other tackle. He's got a returning center. Everybody in the offensive line that stayed is coming back and has had experience. There's no more excuses. I believe people can disagree from people that I've talked to and from in the know and different, people in the Auburn program. He's got to win at least 8. I believe that if Auburn goes 6-6 again, they'll be looking for a new coach next year. You can't have this kind of talent. And based upon this, how are you going to continue to recruit kids to your program if there's not a proof of concept of winning? It's been amazing that after a 6-7 and 5-7 season, he's been able to hold the team together, retain most of his roster, and go get talented people. I think that window is closing. I don't think you can continue to keep doing that if you don't win football games.
How important is the early part of the schedule? Because where you got Baylor, A&M, Oklahoma, all in the first 5-6 weeks.
Yeah, it's crucial. I think you have to start off with winning that game in Waco. I think you do. Then you have Ball State, and I think you have to split the A&M and Oklahoma games. They're both on the road, both tough environments, but you have to win one of them. And then after that, the schedule, I know you play Georgia at home. Then after the Georgia at home game, I think that schedule becomes really favorable. So if you can get out of the first 5 at 3-2, you've got an opportunity to absolutely win 5 of the last 7. I mean, the Alabama game 2 years ago came down to a 4th and 31, and Auburn's a lot more talented this year than they were 2 years ago. And I don't know if Alabama is as talented. So you play them at Jordan-Hare, you got a shot. I mean, there's some teams that you play Missouri in Jordan-Hare this year. I believe Auburn, if they can get through that first 5 or 6 games, 4-2, they're built for the back half to have an 8 or 9 win season.
Talk to me about the defense and what some changes we can expect. I think safety is going to look a little different. I know that Caleb Harris is still there, but what is that going to look like? What is the defense overall?
Love the defensive backfield. Love the secondary. Caleb Harris really emerged as a freshman last year. I think Sylvester Smith will start alongside him. He's a guy that has a lot of snaps. The corners with Jay Crawford and Kayan Lee are really, really good lockdown corners. And then you get the Strader kid from Miami of Ohio, who was a highly rated defensive back transfer. I think Auburn's secondary, Champ Anthony, comes back after a knee injury. He was a very good slot corner last year. So I love the secondary. One of the key offseason acquisitions that went under the radar was when Auburn went out and got Caleb Wheatland from Maryland to start as their middle linebacker. They have some good linebackers, but they're really, really young. And they needed that guy that could play in the box, that had a lot of experience. And Wheatland had over 881 snaps last year at Maryland and is a good linebacker, has already been penciled in by a lot of the depth charts as starting. And when you got guys like Riddick and Woodyard and some other linebackers that are really talented but didn't have that experience, he solidified and stabilized that running back or that linebacker core. And then Keldrick Falk is being projected as a first-round pick at edge. You got some interior defensive linemen and Malik Blockton that's coming back that had a really good year. And then they went out and got in the portal and just got some depth. And I like Kieron Crawford, the other edge that came from Arkansas State 2 years ago. He was starting to emerge. I love this defense. I think this defense had a horrible problem in the first half of the season. Everybody wanted to talk about the offense and did not want to understand that DJ Durkin's defense cost Auburn some games early in the season by not being able to get off the field on third down, by committing stupid penalties on 3rd and 15 and extending drives, giving up pass interference, giving up an 80-yard touchdown pass against Oklahoma with horrible receivers that were all their receivers. I mean, people forget that and want to focus on the offense. In the second half of the season, that defense stabilized and stopped with the not getting off the field on third down. If Auburn's defense plays like it's capable and pressures the quarterback and doesn't, commit stupid penalties and can get off the field on 3rd and long, I really like this defense. And I think the offense, the offense averaged 28 points a game last year. Some of that is skewed because they played some really bad teams in there. If Auburn's defense can get, average 23, 24 points a game in SEC play and hold opponents to that, I think they have a really good shot to, like I said, get 8 or 9 wins.
Are people overall happy with the job Durkin's done?
They are, and I think he got a free pass in the first half last year. I really do. I don't think there was enough grumbling and complaining and focus on, hey, get off the field on 3rd and 15 and quit hitting guys out of bounds. I mean, Auburn had a pick 6 comeback against, I believe, Arkansas because on 3rd and 15, they hit Arkansas's quarterback 4 yards out of bounds. Those things kill you. 3rd and 21, you give up a touchdown. 3rd and 18, pass interference. He got a free pass for that, and I don't think enough people got upset about that. But the way they settled down in the second half and the way some of these younger guys like Riddick and Falk and Kieron Crawford started to emerge, I think people started to get excited about this defense and feel good about going into this upcoming year.
They went 1-5 in those one-score games. We know the one came against A&M. What about the other games? What was the theme?
They did three things that absolutely killed them. The theme is the self-inflicting stuff. They gained enough yards. They had leads late. It wasn't like, I mean, they were up 11 on Oklahoma with 6 minutes to go. What they did was they could not finish drives in the red zone. And I'm not talking about just scoring it's touchdowns, David. I'm talking about their special teams was horrific. The McPherson kid having that horrible stomach problem killed them because the kicking game was terrible. So not only did they not score touchdowns in the red zone, they were missing field goals in the red zone. And Auburn traditionally has good kicking. So that hurt. And then the turnovers in inopportune times. You're up 11 or you're up 4 against Oklahoma and you're driving to put the game away. And Jarquez Hunter is absolutely eating and eating and eating. And you decide to throw the ball and Oklahoma's linebacker picks it off and runs it back for a touchdown. Completely flips the game. That's the stuff that killed them. They get away from that. The one-score games will, even if you can go 3-2 in those 5 one-score games, look what a difference that would have made for Auburn. 7 wins as opposed to 5. You're talking about a bowl game, a whole different feel and vibe to that season.
Oftentimes, coaches at this point of the season, off-season, I should say, are optimistic. But what do you think you're hearing about Hugh Freeze and his staff about what they think they have this year? Are they pretty bullish? Are they worried? What do you think the insiders or those in the program think?
They are pretty bullish, which surprised me. The first couple of years they were a little reserved. They had a lot of buts and ifs and they were trying to temper down expectations and always had a quantitative reason why. This year, they seem very, very set on the fact that they could do some special things and they should do some special things, and this is the year. And the continuity of the coaching staff has helped. Not having to go out and replace coaches, not having to replace an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, secondary coach. They've done a really good job of the edge rushing coach, Rock Bellatoni, comes back after 2 years, so he's familiar. Other than that, there wasn't a lot of offensive staff changes, and I think that helped with recruiting, and it helps with the overall vibe of development for these kids.
All right, last thing for you. What do you think? They're an 8-win team, 9-win team, 6-win team? What do you think, Darrell?
I think they're 8-4 and win their bowl game. And for people that act like winning their bowl game's not important in this day and age of playoffs and people sitting out and opting out, go look at Auburn's record their last 6 bowl games, 1-5. People pay a lot of money to go to these hotels, go to these venues, go to these cities, and you need to start winning some stinking bowl games and not punt them. So I say 8 wins and then, Outback Bowl, Music City Bowl, whatever, get that win, get to 9, and then build upon that to where you're in the playoff conversation next year. And I'm just talking about conversation. I'm not saying you are a lock or you're predicted to be in the playoff, but come early November, your name is being mentioned as a possible playoff participant.
Darrell, great stuff, man. Thanks for your time.
All right, David. Take care.
See you, man. Darrell Dapprich here on the Bumpy's Catering Hotline, breaking down Auburn. We'll hit a break. We'll do Around the SEC, then we'll do the fan show. Brazos Running Company, they're located at Century Square. They're Aggie-owned and operated, and they have all the best shoes you want, right? If you're looking for On, if you're looking for Hoka, you're looking for New Balance, whatever top brand you're looking for, they'll have it there. But here's the beauty about when you go there. They'll analyze the way you run, right? They've got this treadmill. They can analyze this. They'll tell you exactly if you're a toe striker or a heel striker, whatever it may be. You may not think it matters, but it matters. And if you have old shoes that you've been running or walking in, it's so bad for you guys. They've got to get those updated. And at Brazos Running Company, they're passionate about that. They have Yori clothing there, one of the hottest athletic wears. They got Duck Camp. They've got Turtle Box. They got Stanley Cups. It is the Brazos Running Company located at Century Square below the Star Cinema Grill in College Station. Check out the Brazos Running Company. Back on TexAgs Live, we're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studios. Time for Around the SEC, presented by Jaxer. If you are looking to build your dream home on your lot, let the Jaxer Group help you navigate the entire project from start to finish, making sure your home perfectly suits your lifestyle preference and budget to turn your dream home into a reality. Visit them at jaxer.com. That's Jaxsir. And with that, we have my friend, Nick Savage. Nick, good morning.
Good morning. Hello. Good
Is it weird to say good morning to somebody you've talked to about 5 seconds ago?
Yeah, a little bit, but it's okay. We can. It's live radio, so live TV, whatever you want to call it.
Good mid-morning to you, sir.
Yeah. By the way, me and Cade were just talking to it back here. Do you think Brandon Montgomery's going to be in the? Pardon me, Braden. I don't know why I always do that. Braden Montgomery's going to be in the league by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Did you see he hit a walk-off home run last night?
Yeah.
That's 3 home runs in 2 games.
I do.
He's in high A, so he's still got a ways to go. But my goodness, he's been on a tear.
I think in September, when they let folks back up, and he's going to be one of the guys that they bring up. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, he should. Around the SEC, I want to just kind of have a conversation with you, David, about.
I want to respond to your conversation.
I want you to help me, as the resident TexAgs dummy, understand a little bit more about this House settlement. So, why is this settlement including like roster limits? You know what I mean? Like, I thought this was a settlement about, or a lawsuit, I should say, about player compensation. Why does this one judge get to determine roster limits for NCAA schools? You know what I mean? Like that, they're just part of this lawsuit to me that don't seem like it should be decided by one singular judge.
Well, it's interesting you find yourself the resident dummy with this when I just basically told Aaron Torres I felt like a dummy when it comes to legal issues like this.
Well, he said the same thing.
Yeah.
I think everyone's confused.
I think we're all dumb, right? And here's what I'll say to that. You know who we're going to have on the show tomorrow?
Mr. Winters.
Mr. Mitt Winter, who's a legal analyst. He's going to be on the show, and he's going to break it all down for us. But I'm going to tell you what I know. And this is what I know. I know that the reason roster limits are a thing is because Claudia Wilkins, the judge, my dear friend Claudia, she did not want for players just to be abruptly cut. And that was kind of like the plan. July 1st comes and
makes sense.
And she's like, no. We got kids that like they need to know their future. So we need to kind of phase it out in numbers. So that she went back to the programs and said, hey, we got to clean this up. Basically, for all these things to happen, you're going to have to make some kind of cuts to be able to pay for something you've never paid for. And I think that's part of the whole process. Hey, you can have 105 on your roster. They can all be scholarships now. It doesn't have to be the 85, but you can't have those exorbitant numbers in football. And that's kind of part of the reason for it. What I would like to do is just tell me what it looks like, and we can move on.
100%, yeah. That's enough of the kicking the can down the road type of thing.
I know it's a lot harder than I make it, obviously. And there's a lot smarter people in those rooms than me. But I hate inaction. I hate hurrying up to wait. I don't like that. I would rather, for whatever situation in life that I'm dealing with, I just do it. I may not always do it right, and sometimes a little thought goes a long way, right? I'm not saying just to do it like the Nike slogan says, but the inability to take action and just, all right, I'm going to take over. We're going to do this, we're going to do this, and this. And if it doesn't work, you can blame me. But what we have is the Spider-Man meme. Everybody pointing at everybody. No, the NCAA, commissioners, people, humans, aliens. They're just pointing. No more pointing. Just freaking do it. So, President Trump teaming up with Nick Saban and others. I think Tommy Tuberville. There's others. I don't know if anything's going to come of it because I heard a conversation with Christina Cernovich, who's also a legal analyst on SiriusXM, and she's like, the president really doesn't have the power to do what he is saying. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know what. Again, there's too much of that. But I like the idea of getting the smartest minds in the world together. And if Nick Saban knows that inside and out and has a framework, good. Make him the college football czar. And he can decide all things except things that involve Alabama. Fine, go. Just kind of come up with a framework. I bet you Nick can figure it out.
Yeah, I would agree. But isn't it just so crazy that it's gotten to the point where you're hoping for the president to step in and come up with something, and whatever legal analyst you heard is probably right. They probably don't have the power to do anything about it. But I mean, the fact that state governments have gotten so involved, and that's kind of like what some of these schools are depending on, is their state governments to step in and save them. It's just so crazy to me that it's gotten to this point. But I'm like you. I'm tired of kicking the can down the road. I'm tired of, what's it going to look like? Oh, how's it going to look? Let's just come up with something and let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Like Nike. Just do it. All right, we'll hit a break. When we come back, two of the smartest fans that have ever walked in this room.
Yeah, why don't we just let them come up with the plan?
Okay, you know what? Do you think they've done research on this?
You should totally ambush them. Drop it on their lap as soon. The first question, boom, fix college
football. Fix college football,
and
go.
Then you turn your mic off.
All right. You can ask that because they're expecting you to say what's on your mind. You can be like, fix college football. Go, Roy May. Go, Matt Browning.
Sounds good.
And then we'll leave it at that. Okay? It'll be our little inside joke. Circle of trust. They're probably in the lobby watching. Ground Shuttle. They offer frequent and reliable shuttles from Bryan College Station to George Bush Intercontinental Airport. Told my wife, I was like, they're going to a soccer tournament in South Carolina this weekend. I'm leasing her. I'm like, you should use Ground Shuttle. She couldn't use it because she's going to get back late. But I'm like, dude, just do it. Like, it's easy, frequent, reliable. GroundShuttle.com, that's the website. They've got 9 shuttle times on the weekdays, every hour and a half. They got 5 shuttle times on the weekends, every 2.5 hours. Excellent for business travelers and commuters. You can book them for charter service, right? You want to go to a concert, they'll take care of it. Like, they got you. They'll go anywhere in Texas door to door. They are fantastic. Their shuttle services seat up to 14 passengers. They're local and they're awesome. The website again, GroundShuttle.com. GroundShuttle.com. Do me a favor, check them out. And we are back. We call it TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, and it's time for the
Fan Show.
Everybody's favorite. Roy May, hello.
Hey, what's going on? I'm in a fantastic mood, by the way. I am. I'm fired. The weather's beautiful again. Lots of things to talk about.
Apparently, he's got some hot sports takes.
I don't know about sports.
Matt Rowdy, hello, sir.
Hey, buddy, how are you? It is a beautiful day outside. It's not raining. We're not getting 3.5 inches of rain in less than an hour, so like we did the other day. So.
I tell you what, after the drought a few years ago, I will never complain about rain ever again. Though.
Yeah, well, you would if your phone rang 1,000 times in that time period. You'd be like, all right, please stop raining now.
Turn your phone off.
Yep.
All right, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Reed Neal's got the first question. I wonder what he's going to ask. Ladies and gentlemen, Reed Neal.
So usually I would ask what's on your mind, but David specifically asked me to throw a switch up at y'all and ask you, how would you fix college football given the recent, debacle?
Look at their face. They all want something else. Let me tell you why. Because in the last segment, Nick, we were talking about like the house settlement and all the stuff that kind of bores people, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, just fix it already. Like, I'm sure we can figure it out. And then Nick was like, that's the fan show guy.
Well, so you actually, this got brought up with AT, and AT was like, this is going to bore everybody, so we're not going to talk about it, right? And so I'm going to plug my friend here, Jonna, who's literally in her PhD, and this is what she's studying.
Okay.
And so if you want to know, look up Jonna or hit her up on X. This is literally what she's studying and she's working with associate ADs, talking about what's coming down the pipe. And she's looking at these judgments and reading these things word for word and trying to see like, how is this going to affect things and what's going to be the blowback and what's going to be the fallout kind of thing.
Right.
And I can tell you right now that nobody knows because we haven't got to the next decision yet. So at this point, we can talk about a million different ways to try and fix college football. But unfortunately, because of how everything years ago was rolled out, we are still in a reactionary kind of phase. And so until we find out what this next ruling really states, I can't tell you how to fix anything.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what they're about to break again. That's the thing. Like I can fix it. It's like Browning replacing a roof 20 minutes before a hailstorm comes in. So
you have no idea.
Yeah. You don't know what's coming and how it's going to affect things. And so from a top-down level with what Trump did, appointing Saban and that Texas Tech NIL guy.
Yeah, Campbell.
Yeah, Campbell, thank you. I don't think it's a bad idea to have that guy on. I don't think there's any sort of conflict of interest. I think a guy that's deeply invested in not one of the blue bloods is probably a great person to have in that position.
Sure. I like that.
I don't know if I'm a huge fan of Nick Saban being the biggest mouthpiece because Nick Saban wants everything, I think, really to go back to the way things were so people like him could dominate. But if he's able to step back and be very objective about it, maybe that's a good step towards trying to fix things. But again, we don't know what we have to fix yet.
Yeah, my thought is that, again, Roy just laid that out perfectly.
Yeah.
There's no idea what to do, what to fix. But what I want to get back to, and here's the biggest thing for me, is we've got to figure out a way somehow to get back to the fact that back in the day, I'm going back in the day. So back in the day when our guys would get out on the field, those are our guys, right? Those are Aggies. They came to A&M. They had all the options in the world.
Yep.
Our dudes, had all the options in the world, and they came here and they signed up to play here. And if we were to go and win a national championship, that was the whole point. Like, we're better than you because our school's better because these guys chose our school over your school, so that makes us better, right? That's kind of the general idea, in the back of our
You just don't want mercenaries, is what you're saying.
And that's exactly right. This where you go and you pay players. They're coming here because they're getting paid. They're not coming to A&M because A&M's better than everywhere else. You're getting paid. We're getting mercenaries. We're getting guys that are literally transferring and trying to go for the top dollar, which I don't blame them. I mean, I'm glad they're earning a compensation. I am, and I hope that.
I don't know if I am. I mean, I am. Don't get me wrong, but like I just want what's good for the game, whatever that means.
Yeah, they put their bodies on the line. I'm not opposed to the kids making money. I'm not opposed to that part. But you can't have the wild, wild west. You can't have this completely gone crazy. It can't be the wild, wild west like in Young Guns. So
what's on your mind?
By the way,
wait, hold on, real quick before you get into this. I'm not going to steal your thunder on this. You said you want to go way back in the day. Well, let's go way, way back in the day about the story of them literally putting like a bucket of cash on John David Crow's porch, and he's not going anywhere but A&M. We're going to pay him. So if you want to talk about going back in the day, we had mercenaries. We just didn't know it.
We did, yeah.
So,
And
You're saying it's okay, just do it in a paper bag.
Yeah, just give out Maroon Trans Ams. That's fine.
Do it in a controlled manner. Just do it in a controlled manner. The problem is this is where you're truly going to see the split between the P4 and the G5s or G6, however many other conferences there are. And this is where you're going to see a split finally, I think, where the Big Ten, the SEC, the ACC, and maybe the Big 12 go, you know what, NCAA, you're stupid. And we're going to go play by our own rules.
We're going to make our own
rules. And
rules.
ESPN and CBS and Fox are going to be like, we're with those guys. So, like, we don't care about the NCAA. We don't care about the NCAA. Yeah, we're with the product.
Yeah.
So all right, sorry.
Matt Browning, what is on your mind?
No, I was listening earlier, and we brought up Young Guns 3. Which I, for one...
That's a weird concept.
It is a weird concept. I will say, in the past, I'd been like, this is so stupid. Why are you messing with something that was so good, right?
So you think Young Guns was so good?
I love the original, too. I love the original,
I loved both of them, yeah. But, I mean, if I watched it now, it'd be terrible.
I saw Red Smitty hang. His head came clean off.
It still holds up.
It still holds up?
Oh, Young Guns is still great. But when I saw this, in the past, I'd have been like, oh, come on, don't do it. But I'm going to be honest, Top Gun Maverick. That's all I'm going to say.
They did it right.
I thought this is going to be so stupid.
Creed was great too.
Oh yeah, the Creed, but that was a different storyline kind of. So, but they got into the same thing with Maverick, where it was. I mean, you really only had 2 characters from the original, right? Now they brought in the past and all that sort of stuff, and I mean, going into it, I was like, this is going to be so dumb. I can't believe they're remake. How can you remake Top Gun? And then they did it, and they did a great job.
And I was worried it was going to be terrible.
So you're telling me we're putting Billy the Kid in F-35 Raptor?
Well, it'd be fine by me. So
you are all in.
I'm cautiously optimistic that because of Top Gun Maverick that they can redo Young Guns 3.
Okay, all right.
So, all right, Roy, what is your take on this?
I'm hesitantly optimistic because while I love Top Gun Maverick, I just saw The Accountant 2, and so
was it terrible?
It wasn't terrible, but. They don't need to make a third one. I'll put it that way. Sorry, I didn't give any spoilers. It's just like the first one was really just so good, right? And so 2 things on my mind. One of the most slept on Emilio Estevez movies ever is him and Charlie Sheen in Men at Work.
Oh, that was a good movie.
It's an absolute cool classic. It's a terrible movie, and I'll watch it.
But I liked it.
You never touch another man's fries. Yeah, you never touch another man's fries.
But what else is on my mind? I mean, the number 1 freaking softball team in the country is playing today, right? And like, I can't wait. I hate the tournament, like just how it's 7 p.m. or 35 minutes after, so it could be 9:45 before first pitch. But super excited about what they've continued to do all season long. The bounce back after a bad series, go to Tennessee, and you were like, don't get swept on the road. They win the series against the number 2 team in the country. And, Trisha Ford keeps coming on, and every time she talks, like, she's got an energy to her. Yep. She's kind of, I don't know if I can say, she's pretty badass, quite frankly. And so she's one that I really hope that we keep around for a while. So I'm looking forward to it. It's weird because they're number 1 in the nation, but there's a lot of talk about them not being the number 1 seed, just because of all the parity and with OU and having that Georgia game canceled really sucked, quite frankly. And so pick one in the tourney, just one. I think you just grab one, and I think you actually will, depending on what OU does, just be one better than OU, and I think we've locked up the number 1 seed in the nation.
I want to do one last thing on pop culture.
Please.
Okay.
Enjoy these.
We got some baseball and football. So I saw a video. This is not an original David Nuño thing. Remember the movie Back to the Future?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Remember they went back to what year?
They went back to
1955. It was 1985. Right? And it didn't feel like a long, like when we were watching, oh my God.
Like they went way back in time. It was only 30 years.
Yeah. So if they did Back to the Future today, we'd be going back to 1995.
Oh, that does make you feel old, doesn't it?
You go to hell and you die, David.
Oh my gosh.
I feel here's another one.
I feel like we'd still go back to 55.
Was that your senior year in high school? Were you 95?
Yeah, I was 95.
Okay, I was 97. What were you?
97.
Here's another one. Remember the movie Cocoon?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Wilford Brimley.
Wilford Brimley was like 49 years
is my age.
Wilford Brimley in Cocoon.
That old man.
49 years old. That's why he's still alive today.
Here's another one.
Because he hasn't aged.
Yeah, he doesn't.
The Skipper and Thurston Howell. were in my age range. Not necessarily, they were like 49, 50, 51.
Yeah.
Those guys look like dinosaurs.
Did you what was the housekeeper's name on the Brady Bunch?
Alice.
Alice. Do you know that she was 30 years old in that?
No chance she was 30. That's
she was
blasphemy.
30 years old when that show
Google
started.
Alice from the Brady Bunch.
She was 30 years old when that started.
That lady looked 94.
I know.
I can't think of Wilford Brimley without thinking of the Family Guy. Well, I'm Wilford Brimley.
I'm Wilford Brimley.
You know, because I'm the most unrelatable guy in Brazos Valley. Never watched Family Guy.
Oh, well.
There's nothing wrong with not watching Family Guy, quite frankly. It's pretty degenerate.
It is. It's got, I will say there's a few, I don't watch it religiously. I've seen a few clips here and there, but there are things that they'll do that have made me laugh out loud. So
we'll hit a break here, so when we come back, baseball.
Yes.
Football.
Yeah. Let's talk sports.
Football.
And badminton. All that next coming up on TexAgs Live. If your organization or business is looking for an opportunity to engage with Aggies, you need to check out the Association of Former Students. They bring Aggies of all ages together during these awesome marquee events held throughout the year. We're talking Aggie Ring Day, All Aggie Hullabaloo, and The Gathering. They welcome tens of thousands of guests, and there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities to get your brand in front of those attendees. These events offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand. These include title sponsorship, naming, on-site presence, activation, recognition, and social media posts, and much, much more. There's also advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie Magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, check out a partner that's been supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information on options available through the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com.
And we're back. TexAgs live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, fan show, guys.
We're going to talk sports.
You know, David Gardner's Jewelers is doing an insane upgrade. Have you seen the renovations over University? They're still open, but yeah, they're like expanding their store.
Of course they are.
It's impressive.
They're the best.
Absolutely.
Baseball-wise, all right. So last weekend, I think last week, who was here last week?
It was myself and
Sutton.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wasn't here.
So the vibes weren't as good after baseball, right?
No.
Vibes seem pretty good right now.
Yeah, vibes are better. Thank you, Caden Sorrell. Big hit.
A monster.
Monster hit. Man alive. So, yeah, very different. I mean, you go in and you get swept by your arch nemesis and your most hated team, and then you come in, you win the series against the number 2 team in the country, which is your second least favorite team. And so it does bring it up. And now we're looking at getting into, we've got 2 series left, 6 games total. And from my understanding, we just need to win 3.
That's the mythical number, right?
Yeah, the mythical number, according to Mr. Ryan Broniger out in the hallway. So that's what he was saying. So we need to win 3. So you go ahead and if you sweep this weekend against the statistically the worst team in the SEC, then you're there. We're there. And then, but
I think it's just a shame the Houston game got canceled for 2 reasons. One, that could have been an RPI booster. Like it wasn't a wash. It would have been an RPI boost, beating Houston. And 2, I just wanted to see them in their Love You Blue shirts. Those were sick. So just an RPI, just unfortunate. I mean, it is what it is. You can't, control that. And again, because of their schedule, you couldn't push back a day. They were going to play the day before they go on a road trip.
Yep.
So for me, it's sweep Missouri and get 1 in Athens, right?
Yep.
But again, I don't care that they haven't won a conference game. Like, they've got talent. They push some teams to the brink. So you want to assume a sweep, but assuming a sweep is really egotistical in our position.
Mm-hmm. Baseball is a weird game.
Yeah, exactly. Baseball is just baseball. Mm-hmm. I was posed an interesting question last week. I don't know if you guys have ever really addressed this. If you had to, if there was a draft right now, and you have to kind of extrapolate a little bit and say that Caden Sorrell, with another year of data, you had Caden and Jace, Caden with 1 more year.
Yeah.
Who would you pick first?
Ooh.
I think I'm still taking Jace.
Still taking Jace?
I think Jace is having, he's the all-time leading A&M home run hitter.
Well, this has nothing to do with the slump.
No, I'm just saying. Yeah,
think about what we've seen out of Caden Sorrell. All of a sudden, you're like, goodness gracious. We'll get
now, if he does this all year long and next year, that's
kind of what I'm saying.
I'll say the fact that question gave us pause to think about it even for a second. You're talking about probably the greatest A&M baseball player of all time with Jason.
And a kid who missed 25 games this year.
Yes. You're talking about I don't think it's a stretch to call him the best of all time here. Would you? No, I don't think I would. I think that's probably pretty darn accurate. You're talking about the greatest of all time, the best we've ever had, and the fact that question gave Dave and I both had to stop and think about it. Is a
testament to Caden Sorrell.
And considering they all 3 were those 2 and Braden Montgomery were on the same team last year, with the way Braden Montgomery has looked, and Gavin, who by the way is going to be in that all-time
Beamont
grade.
is just vertical through the farm system right now. I love it.
Hey, we got 2.5 left. Let me ask you this football question, guys. Okay. You heard the first segment about questions and for sures. So what are your for sures with Aggie football?
My for sure is the running game. I think I can be for sure with that, with the returning offensive linemen and not only the health of the running back room, but the depth of the running back room.
Right.
And because Marcel doesn't have to be a Heisman Trophy winner for us to run the ball. He just needs to maybe, like you said earlier, take a next step. And if he takes the next step, my for sure will be the running game, and the running game may be why he takes the next step. I hate to kind of bounce it back and forth, but my for sure with the returning linemen and the running back room, my for sure, absolutely the running game this next year.
Browning.
I'm trying to stay positive. Your first question is, hey, what are you for sure about? 8-4? No, I'm kidding. It's a joke. Is it? My God, hey. I mean, hey, in my 45 years on this planet, we haven't done a whole lot better than that very many times. So what am I supposed to say, right?
He sounds like the Auburn insider. He was like, "What's next year? 8-4."
Yeah, I mean,
and maybe hope we're in the playoff discussion the next year, win the Music City Bowl. And I was like, man, this guy needs to take a walk.
I for sure, I agree with Roy. Our running game, I said this last week. I think our O line's going to be improved, but I mean, our backfield is loaded with talent.
I'll pick another one for sure. Marcel takes the next step. I'll take a flyer.
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay. So yeah, I agree with him on the running back room, the running game. I just want to be pleasantly surprised.
I want to be happy.
Well, you want to be happy.
You were pleasantly surprised last year until November.
Yeah, I mean, I was until we took a nosedive off of a very high cliff. Yeah.
Outside of that, Mrs. Lincoln, how'd you enjoy the play?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like
your husband was just murdered, but did you enjoy it?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'm just getting cynical in the old days or not.
Some really early BAS.
Yeah, well, I always have it. It's always here. It's always right there in the background. So,
Skipper, Thurston, appreciate you guys. Doc Brown.
Thanks, Wilford.
I appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Brimley.
All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs Live here on a Thursday. Mañana on the program, Javorsky Lane, Midwinter, baseball bunch guys.
Hey, bring up to Javorsky about the best catch I've ever seen, one of the best catches I've ever seen in A&M history.
We can do that. He's graduating, I think, tomorrow. So we'll talk about that. Reggie McNeil, congratulations, by the way. TexAgs Live.